Most versus Navarro boxing. Get into that. I know there's drama. The girlies are fighting. We got a lot. We got a lot to talk about. So let's do it. Musk X Navarro over tariffs. Turkey versus Israel over Syria. Market rebounds. SCOTUS gives Trump fascist victories. Have you seen Saga video on China on BP? He has become a full CPC supporter. Let's go. Market rebounds and tanks. Market is just red. It's just red. It's just red and then green and then red again and dead again. It is what it is. That's just what markets do. That's just what markets do. Markets only do this when they're distressed, and it's fine. Markets have not rebounded. I know it's more so a meme, chat. I know markets have not rebounded. I don't really care about the fucking markets anyway. Obviously, this is a anti-capitalist stream. Markets are only indicative as far as like what the economic impact will be on the working class. That's the only thing I care about. Something that I stress routinely with regular frequency, as a matter of fact. So, you know, some for everybody to consider when we have these conversations. Here, I'll do rebounds and tanks again. All right. What was I gonna say? Your blast off tweet just made this. Turkey versus Israel over Syria. What else? There's just so much happening, dude. I have a hard time keeping up with every dang thing. China vows tariff fight and more. Get in now. Yeah, IRS agrees to give ICE all of the data readily available for migrants, which is incredibly disgusting. Libs of TikTok went on an ICE raid. I saw that. Listen, let me tell you, I see everything. I see everything that you see. Okay. Yeah. Everyone is also talking about the recession or not. The Oval Office has reached a gilded age. Like, yeah, I know. He's gaudy. He's gaudy as shit. He loves his gold. Okay. He's Mr. Gaudy. He's Mr. Nouveau Riche. He just doesn't, he sucks. Ukraine arrests Chinese Russian fighters at the front. Yeah, I saw. Gilded Age is the poorest era in American history. 90% of people are poor. Yeah, well, guess what, dude? The top 1% of wealth, on the other hand, was caken. And that's what's important. Those are the jobs producers. Those are the jobs providers. Those are the most innovative, most brilliant, the heaven ordained amongst us. You should be excited at the prospect that you get to live in an era where so many phenomenal men and women exist. And instead of feeling excited at the prospect of being around all of these people with unimaginable levels of wealth, you sit around and you say, oh, my lord, I'm poor. I don't have enough gruel, my lordship. What you should be saying is, my lordship, please, can I have some more? That's what you should be saying. Okay? What you should be doing right now is training your children, the next generation, to become chimney sweeps. Okay? But you're not doing that because you're not innovative. You don't know about the Sigma Grindset lifestyle, and you're not going to make the cut. Okay. We're going to melt you for biomatter. And that is what it is. There's nothing you can do about it. You feel me? This must be another reason why he loves Erdogan. Yeah. Erdogan is all about that gaudy shit too. Of course. He thinks he's a padishah, bro. He thinks he's Sultan. Okay. He thinks he's Mr. Sultan, Mr. Reis type Erdogan turned into Sultan. Over here. So yeah, Mahmoud's immigration court hearing in process right now. We'll share any updates in chat as I receive them. Hell yeah, thank you. We have our wherever people in the front lines. It has been revealed that the rapist minister is Orit Strock, the minister of settlements and a member of the party of Smotrich and one of the leaders of the settlers in Hebron. First publication. What? Daughter of coalition minister claims she was raped by both her parents and filed a police complaint against them. First publication, Daniel Amram, without censorship at this stage. We can only publish the following details. The daughter of a minister who currently serves in the government published on her Facebook account that she was raped by her parents and even filed a police complaint against them. Dude, just Israel stuff, you know? Just Israel things, baby. Just Israel things, you know? Maybe they'll put him on TV to be like, you don't understand. This Daniel Amram is really sketchy overall. Yeah, I don't know. This Daniel Amram is the second time I've seen info coming out that was a little off base, but we'll see. I'll dive into it a little bit further. No, they're not going to do pro rape riots. But Daniel Amram was the one that broke the story about the hostage that was also. I'm pretty sure he was the one who broke the story about the Israeli hostage that literally came back to Israel and was raped by her fitness instructor. But yeah, he is a little bit of a. I'll keep it a $150. He's a little bit of a. What's the term? Should I say fabulist? From stuff that I've seen, like there are instances where he's on the money. His whole shtick is public shaming. Sometimes it's valid. Most times it's haphazard and off base. He's also outside of Israel for legal reasons, apparently. Yeah, no shit. Yeah. We're talking about Daniel Amram, the journalist who the investigative reporter who broke the story of the Israeli minister of the Knesset who may or may not have raped his daughter, like the daughter of the Knesset. Okay, we'll get to that story later. Okay, there's so much to cover. We'll get to that. We'll get to that later today. Okay, are you going to cover what seems to be strikes in Iran soon, dude? I'm going to cover it all. Okay. The American government is revitalizing. The American government is revitalizing its military. We're going to be the $1 trillion military, baby. That's right. 700 billion is not enough. We need more billions. We need more bees. We need 300 extra bees, baby. 200 extra bees. Fuck it. We are now moving from the B to the T. That's right. Remember when the Trump administration was like, I'm a peaceful dove. I'm a peaceful dove. We're going to cut down on this wasteful spending. So much wasteful expenditure out here. We got to cut that down. Yeah, thank God. Thank God my goat is doing that. Of course, if you believe that even for a brief moment, as many people that are my naysayers in the MAGA Communist Coalition were constantly yelling at me over, well, you're a fucking moron, okay? What did I tell you? American foreign policy is uniparty. American foreign policy is uniparty. Yes, the Trump administration or the Republicans will maybe move the needle further. But as I have demonstrated time and time again, even the trade policy that Trump is talking about is put together in a haphazard fashion, obviously undermining the global economy and destabilizing it in dramatic ways. Having said that, the goal and the direction was set forth by one man. His name is Barack Hussein Obama. All of the undermining of the World Trade Organization and the deliberate efforts of trying to decouple global trade from China, that started under the Obama administration. Donald Trump follows through on a lot of Obama's agenda. Donald Trump also followed through on Obama's agenda when it came to making European leaders spend a higher percentage of their GDP on their own defense in NATO. That was Obama. He's the one who actually started this process. Donald Trump actually pushed it. Remember, these things matter. All right. Our extraction, our not extraction, sorry, our extortion protection racket, NATO. Donald Trump did the damn thing, and that's precisely why Biden didn't reverse it. Biden did not reverse those decisions. So it's important to recognize. However, there are still plenty of things that the Trump administration has done and will continue to do that is haphazard, silly, belligerent, for seemingly no discernible reason. Even directionally, it might be it might be in line. Directionally, it might be in line with the agenda of previous administrations in terms of global trade, in terms of undermining China at the global stage, for a multitude of different reasons. Having said that, however, the way that they're going about it is obviously fucking crazy. Are you reading a PowerPoint? No, I am going off the top dome, chatter. But thank you for thinking I'm reading a PowerPoint because I am just demonstrating excellent recall. Let's continue. Trump stands firm on tariffs amid the stock market turmoil. Let's take a look.
Trump is holding firm on his tariffs, rejecting calls for a pause. Chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce tracking that debate. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, George. Well, with his sweeping so-called reciprocal tariffs set to take effect at midnight tonight, the president is not backing down, but his administration is sending some mixed messages about this trade war. The president speaking of these tariffs as permanent policy while also opening the door to bargaining. This morning, in the face of turmoil on Wall Street, President Trump remains defiant.
I don't mind going through it because I see a beautiful picture at the end.
He's showing no signs of budging despite growing fear among economists that a recession is on the horizon. Top investors, even Trump supporters, now urging him to hit the brakes. I asked the president, would you be open to a pause in tariffs to allow for negotiations?
Well, we're not looking at that. We have many, many countries that are coming to negotiate deals with us, and they're going to be fair deals.
The White House says almost 70 countries
They're
have
gonna
come
be
calling, but so
fair
far
deals,
only
the best
Japan
deals.
appears engaged in any kind of active negotiations before Trump's 24% tariff takes effect. We pressed the Treasury Secretary. You're starting to negotiate. How soon do you think we could see some deals be made?
Well, we have one of the Vietnamese officials coming in.
I thought Scott Bessent would have backed away from this by now. I really thought that he would have backed out of this. Like it would have been forced to just retire, leave the administration. You know what I mean? I truly thought he would have quit by now. It is kind of interesting that he is he's still holding on. You know, he's still holding on. He looks scared. He has the attitude of a man who is not. It feels like he's not happy about what the things that he has to defend, but we'll see.
This week, the Japanese are very eager to get over, and I think you're going to see a couple of big trading partners do deals very quickly.
The president pressed on the purpose of his tariffs as his administration sends mixed messages, asked if they're a permanent strategy or a short-term negotiating tactic.
Well, they can both be true. There can be permanent tariffs, and there can also be negotiations, because there are things that we need beyond tariffs.
The president appearing.
Yeah, his message is now the White House message. Talk about negotiations, but keep the tariffs. The reason why they're doing that is because they want the markets to scream a little less. Because it's not just about like a consolidation of wealth in the way that like even Robert Reich and Sam Cedar and many other people whose opinion I trust on a lot of this stuff have indicated. Because there's a lot of people who think like, oh, Trump is purposely tanking the market so that his buddies can just like pick apart the pieces for pennies on the dollar. I don't think that that is the primary purpose. I think that that is a secondary purpose that happens regardless, right? No matter what happens, that is what is going to happen. That's just the normal capitalist imperative. Having said that, that is not the reason why he's doing this. The tariffs are, I think, the most instructive thing that we have seen thus far. If you are confused about the tariffs, is the 5 points that one random guy delivered in front of, what was it? There was another press conference of a low-level dude who got up and said, here are the 5 things that we want from these other countries, including purchasing more weapons, including purchasing more of our shit. And I think that is the major, those are the real reasons why he's implementing these destructive tariff initiatives. Do you think the primary purpose is to essentially strong arm other countries into purchasing American goods? Yes. That is one of the major reasons why he's doing this. There's a couple reasons why he's doing this. Okay? There's a couple reasons why he's doing this. The number one most important reason why he's doing this is because China has cleaned up over the course of, after being forced into the World Trade Organization, okay? China, utilizing state subsidies and its command economy, has absolutely dominated the rest of the planet in terms of trade. And other countries don't look to that and go, wait, why don't we also have a higher degree of socialization and try to implement a command economy? Instead of doing that, other countries decided, you're cheating. That's basically what this is. This is called cheating. There is a finite amount of subsidies that you can offer your agricultural producers. If you're America, you can do whatever the fuck you want. It doesn't really matter. But ultimately, if you are using capitalism as a sleeve, right, and you're not actually capitalist minded, and you are instead utilizing your supposedly capitalist corporations to dominate global trade by offering complete state control to your production that makes it impossible to compete against, then that's really fucked up. That's called cheating. That is unironically the argument, okay? They say Chinese meta too strong. Chinese meta is too strong. Please nerf. This is OP. No point does anybody go, why don't we also chase the Chinese meta? Not a single person has decided that perhaps that could be the next evolution of capitalism. Okay? So that's a big gripe that obviously Ursula von der Leyen has, the European markets have. That's a big gripe that America has. And Donald Trump wants to decouple the rest of the world from Chinese manufacturing by force. Okay? White House aide Stephen Moran outlines 5 potential responses. This is, ironically enough, one of the most instructive things I have read, knowing what I know about the Trump administration, knowing what I know about Project 2025, knowing what I know about previous administrations and their overarching goals of undermining Chinese dominance of the global stage for global trade. Okay? This is, I'm telling you right now, the greatest summarization of what their administration's goals are. Don't listen to anything else, just this. Number 1, foreign countries can accept tariffs without retaliation, giving U.S. revenue. Number 2, they can stop the unfair/harmful trade practices and buying more from the U.S. This is the major part. This is what they want to do. They want to forcibly sell our hormone-induced beef to other countries at the higher price points that they can't even fucking purchase at. Or they want our salmonella chicken by force to dominate their marketplaces, okay? Or they want our cars that they cannot drive in their fucking roads to dominate their roads. This is what it is. Because other than that, what else do we sell? Weapons. And also, of course, services. We sell a lot of services. The entire global economy revolves around services. Financial services, tech services, things of that nature. Okay? Those are the things that we sell. And we already dominate on that front regardless. Boost defense spending and procurement from U.S. And ding, 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 there it is. This is the third and perhaps also incredibly important point. They want other countries to make up for the trade deficit by buying more of our weapons. Okay? Buy more of our arms. Please buy more of our arms. That's the only thing we have. There is nothing else that we have. We don't make shit. We make weapons. So you have to buy these weapons. And then, last but not least, they want foreign nations to invest and install factories in the United States and also directly write checks to the U.S. Treasury. That last one is really funny. So this right here, in my opinion, is the most instructive 5-point goal that I have seen so far from the administration. Pay no attention to what like Navarro says versus what Lutnick says versus what Bessent says versus what Donald Trump says. They have their own personal goals. But I think overall, this is the greatest summary I have seen of the actual goals that the administration has beyond what I just described to you about, like, forcing China to no longer have this dominant position in global trade because their subsidy-backed commodity production methods are, unfortunately for the rest of the world, impossible to compete with. Now, let's just say I'm very familiar with the neoliberal argument here. I'm very familiar with the pro-capitalist argument. I'm very familiar with the Fukuyama guided argument that many people have. I talk to people all the time who I disagree with, who understand global trade, who have a very different attitude around the world. And I genuinely keep explaining to them that the major advantage that I have over them is that I do not have the capitalist dogmatic framework when analyzing the situation. Okay? They do. I have identified 2 things that I think cause a lot of the experts, because I do talk to some experts, a lot of the experts, I think, have horse blinders on. They operate within the capitalist dogmatic framework, and therefore they can't make sense of what China is doing, or rather, sometimes they analyze what China is doing and consider it to be cheating. Okay? The 2 issues are, number 1, assuming, and this will always lead you astray, assuming that China is operating with the profit motive, with the capitalist framework, okay? That their goals overall are to make sure that their corporations have higher profit margins year over year. That's the only thing that China cares about. If you think that that's how China operates, just like Western liberal democracies do, you're going to be wrong every single time. You're going to be wrong in a very public and in a very spectacular way. You're going to think, ghost cities, greatest example, right? You're going to go, look at these ghost cities. They're empty. Nobody wants them. Why are they building them? Oh, just for jobs, right? In the short term, haha, how stupid. Guess what? They're no longer ghost cities because they were doing planning ahead of time, okay? That's number 1. The assumption that China is operating with the same capitalist framework and not simply using capitalism as a weapon to dominate global trade for their own personal desires of having more political power on the global stage, that's always going to lead you astray. whether you are looking at Chinese domestic affairs or whether you're looking at Chinese foreign policy, you will always be wrong if you assume they're simply operating in the same framework that the Western liberal capitalist democracies are operating on. The second problem is the notion, the false notion that there is a method to the madness, that this system that we have designed, the world order that we have taken for granted for the past 60 years, and especially accelerated in the aftermath of the dissolution of the USSR, which is analogous to what is happening in the United States of America right now as well, but I'm not going to get into that currently. That system is infallible, so whenever something like Donald Trump happens within that structure, the system has safeguards to bring everything back to normalcy. The nothing ever happens mentality, the Zoomer attitude of Fukuyama thought, the end of history. This is also wrong. If you think that this structure is infallible, if you think that the structure will always fix itself somehow by force, markets will rebound no matter what, because the profit incentive that is the underpinning of everything that we do, the design of this society. If you think that influence, that attitude, that motivation will inevitably cause people to come to their senses, you will be led astray as well. Because sometimes there are a lot of fucking dumb mistakes that these guys make. This is one of them. Directionally, Donald Trump is accelerating the war against China, the trade war against China, in the same ways that Barack Obama and Biden also tried to do. But the way he's doing this is stupid. So if you think there's some sort of 5D chess move that's taking place here, you will be led astray. It's that simple. That's it. So remember, if you think China is operating within the same capitalist mentality that our country is operating under, our liberal democracy is operating under, you will always be wrong. You will always be wrong. Okay, this isn't to say that like the Chinese government can't make mistakes or can't have issues that they can't tackle, especially when it comes to foreign policy, right? There certainly will be moments like that. Having said that, if the underlying attitude that you have is that they also have corporations and corporate interests that they put in front of their actual national interests, whether it be domestic policy in their domestic affairs or foreign policy when it comes to foreign trade, if you think that they care about the corporate structure, they care about the corporate interests, you will always be led astray, okay? Remember that. U.S. is, by the way, speaking of which, U.S. to impose 104% tariff on Chinese imports from April 9th after Beijing misses deadline, says White House. Fantastic stuff. Let's see how the markets perform after that. I wish China was more like the USSR when it comes to foreign policy. I will not say that, because while China is only invested in China and nothing else, seemingly they are more resilient than the USSR. This is one of the examples. Okay, Chinese foreign policy revolves around making China undeniable, an undeniable force in global trade, an undeniable necessity for global manufacturing. They look at the markets, they looked at the neoliberal design, they looked at free trade, and they said, we will use this to our benefit. That is the reason why it is incredibly costly at the domestic level for an American president to try to detangle our complex, interwoven trade relationship with China. Do you understand? That is, in my opinion, China learning from the USSR's mistakes, or rather, I wouldn't even say USSR's mistakes at that point. It's just like, it was a very different time, very different technology, very different tech availabilities for the USSR, and also very different material circumstances post World War II for the USSR. So for me, I think they see it, they recognize it, and they are moving in a way where they become impossible to avoid. Unlike the top of the hour ad break, which is very possible to avoid by subscribing for $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime. No tariffs here. It's still $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime. By connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, you get one free Prime subscription a month. Use it on your favorite broadcaster. Hopefully that's me. You can also get gifted a sub. That's also a double ad break debate because I'm not actually serving ads. Once again, That's a double ad break, Jabate. No ad will be served. That's right. I wanted to fucking break your brain a little bit. Yes. $6 for now. You can also get gifted a sub. This is the best way to support the broadcast. The Piker Broadcasting Service is sponsored by you, the members, the subscribers. Subscriptions will give you access to wonderful emails that you can use all around the platform, and also maintain my editorial independence, and also simultaneously cool badges that you can show in the chat, and a way to avoid other restrictions, like sometimes subscription only chats. All right. Also, where is it? Thank you, John Brown's Holy Ghost, for the 15 community gifted subs, and Sale Cap for the 15 community sub gift. I'm manufacturing because every future ad breaks is true. I am doing that. Yeah, boy Mills. Also, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Yeah, but China's still trading with Israel. Would you rather have imperialism disguised as sustainability or an anti-imperialist regime? Yeah, no, I think it's also fucking bullshit that China is doing that. I mean, I talk about that all the time. That's why I say China is only interested in China and nothing else. And even then, of course, like, one country is trading with Israel. The other country is giving Israel nonstop, endless supply of weapons and political capital, social capital, and defending Israel. So China is anti-Zionist in comparison to America, okay? Having said that, of course, they are not anti-Zionist, and they absolutely do collaborate with Israel. They have given Israel surveillance technology that Israel uses against the Palestinians in the West Bank. So does America, of course. But this is something that I recognize, openly criticize. But let's continue.
Alongside Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, whose own country is being slapped with a 17% tariff despite being America's closest ally in the Middle East. Netanyahu seeming to give Trump what he wants, promising to lower Israel's tariff rate on the U.S. to 0.
What is this? Given the unique land public finance scheme in China, city leaders have strong incentives to build new towns near HSR stations as a strategy to expand the urban buildup area and increase local government revenue and land auctions. You're wrong, lol. Bro, I'm telling you right now, you're doing it. Capitalist dogma is so powerful. It is so powerful that in the process of me explaining, if you think that China is operating within the capitalist boundaries, within the capitalist framework, okay, you will be led astray, and you can't. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying the chatter was wrong. Please stop with the assumption that China is doing these sorts of initiatives with the profit motive of corporations in mind. If you think that that is the case, in and of itself, you will be led astray. This isn't to say, I'm not saying it's the same framework, not capitalistic. They have a scheme that promotes politicians for increased artificial performance. All of that still comes from a top-down directive for rapid urbanization. Okay? This does not mean that China does not use capitalist incentivization structures or wear capitalism as a sleeve. That's what I'm trying to explain. They will present themselves as a capitalist nation. They do. They do all the time. And this is beneficial for them. This has been beneficial for them, especially for foreign capital coming into the country, despite the major government hurdles that they place upon foreign capital. So within the incentive structure, you can't present yourself as capitalist. What, Lamau? You either are or aren't. Well, it seems like there is a country that's doing just that. A country that has billionaires within the party structure, a country that has corporations, a country that has a stock market, and yet the underlying fundamentals have nothing to do with boosting the profit motive. And beyond that, they very quickly they'll very quickly shut that shit down if necessary. That's the whole point. It's a great example. Subsuming private interest to the state is just fascism, dog. Okay, China is fascist, dude. You're right. That's what it is. Yes, they're a fascist country. America is not a fascist country. America is a capitalist liberal democracy. China is a fascist country. You got it. Words actually don't mean anything. By that logic, USSR was fascist. I mean, yeah, liberal capitalists do unironically make this argument. They think that. Yes. They do think that. Look, I'm not gonna keep talking about this. It's okay. You can think whatever you want to think. But there will come a day, and I think for a lot of people, they are coming to that recognition right now. If you have pumped your brain full of China is going to evaporate any day now style videos over and over again, China is the worst country on the planet, blah, 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 all these videos over and over again, you probably will find yourself a little confused in this process. I don't. And that's the reason why I'm trying to help you develop a different perspective on the way that China operates to the best of my ability. I'm not the most knowledgeable either on this matter. Do you see what I'm saying?
We will eliminate the trade deficit.
USSR was fascist? What do you mean?
But
okay,
even
bro,
with that
come on,
assurance,
stop.
Trump's
Stop.
still not committing to reducing the tariffs on Israel.
Maybe not. Maybe not. Don't forget, we help Israel a lot.
On Capitol Hill, Republican leaders publicly shrugging off concerns, arguing the president's plan will take time.
We have to give the president space.
But among some rank-and-file members, dissent is growing. 7 Republican senators now joining with Democratic Senator Maria Cantwell to introduce a long-shot bill that would require the president to notify Congress of new tariffs that Congress would need to approve within 60 days. A similar bill in the House brought by moderate Nebraska Republican Don Bacon, but neither likely to.
People understand communism is an evolution of capitalism, but not understand that a transitional state might use a global capital structure to transition away from it. Yeah, but the problem is people don't understand that communism is an evolution of capitalism. They don't. They think it's a totally separate thing that that is very scary and bad. Like communism means no toothbrush or whatever the fuck. So they don't.
To pass, Trump already threatening to veto.
Congress must immediately take back power from Donald Trump before he causes more damage to the economy.
Now, all of this will play out on the Hill today when Trump's top trade rep.
You're over-exaggerating. China's top-down initiatives aren't the result of nothing but pure intentions for all the Chinese people. The most powerful and wealthy have as much sway as in the West. Xi can kill some of his opponents, but he can't kill all of them. So the profit motive is still very important. People are sacrificing the process just like here. Yeah, I am also not I don't have delusions about this either. That's why I always talk about how, like, the anti-corruption initiatives that Xi Jinping implemented have also been implemented towards people who were outside of the scope of the regime or sometimes spoke out of turn. This is something that I also mention all the fucking time. But ultimately, any kind of anti-capitalist initiative, first of all, by the way, when he says kill, I don't think he means literally kill. Right? I don't think you meant literally kill, right? You're not, because you can't say I'm over-exaggerating and then say Xi Jinping murders his billionaire opponents, because that is insane. My friend is a former trot turned ML. He's talked to CCP people before, and they literally do seriously believe that they are a transitional socialist state. No, I think so too. I think that they do believe it, yes. What is the shaking meme? I'm lost. It's when I pull someone to the public square and then shake them like a baby to shake some sense into them. All right, let's keep going.
Testifies before the Senate Finance Committee. He's expected to defend the president's trade agenda and be pressed on the fallout. George.
Okay, Mary, thanks.
Yeah, I think Eamon Javers has some more color from the White House on this brewing rivalry. Amen.
What do you mean shake them like a baby? That's not a thing. It's a joke, chatters. Oh my God. God damn.
Yeah, Sarah, that's right. This is a behind-the-scenes rivalry that's now exploding into public view between Elon Musk and Peter Navarro, two very different wings of the Trump administration internally.
Yeah, Elon Musk is calling Navarro a moron, dumber than a sack of bricks. The girlies are fighting, but Elon is already out of favor in the Trump White House, so good luck to him. Good luck to Elon. Oh, God, it's amazing. It's amazing that it's like falling away. It's falling apart in spectacular fashion.
To now have a reaction to all this from Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary. I just spoke to her a couple of moments ago. Her reaction to the statement from Elon Musk calling Peter Navarro truly a moron and dumber than a sack of bricks is whatever. We are the most
For the record, like, I'm not doing the China is going to collapse tomorrow memes, but for America. Like, that's not what I'm saying either. This is going to be a long and drawn out process. Okay? That's not the argument here either. Like, I'm not doing the I'm not doing the fucking America is collapsing tomorrow memes like the reverse USAID funded YouTuber pipeline. I do, however, think that there is some comparisons between the USSR and the collapse of the USSR and the collapse of American empire a little bit. It is also a self-inflicted wound, accelerated by outside forces, certainly in the case of USSR. And in our circumstance, the outside forces are not outside forces at all, but internal forces, something that we have actually worked at the behest of, our government has worked at the behest of, which is capital interests. Unchecked power for capital owners have caused unlimited greed, has destroyed American manufacturing capabilities and labor power. Labor power is supposed to breathe life back into the welfare state that breathes life back into the capitalist system and offers it a lifeline. The contradictions become too severe to ignore, and America starts recognizing that they've lost the plot over the course of the past couple of decades, where a command economy can come in and absolutely dominate them in the global marketplace, develop themselves, and become a competent, competitive superpower. And now they are trying to stop the bleeding to the best of their ability. But because of our endless greed and because of our defense of capitalism and our interest in the maintenance of capitalism, we do not have the tools to actually fight back against this. We do not have the tools to rather rebuild the system. Because if America turned into China overnight, in terms of his policies, in terms of his interests, and America, let's say, started using its corporate structure and make corporations work at the behest of the government and at the behest of the citizenry, rather than the corporations dominating the government, or the government serves the corporations, as is the case here in the United States of America. Maybe then, in the next decade, America could become a more competitive country and potentially put like 50 to 100 extra years on its global dominance, right? But they're not doing that, because the only tool we have is a hammer. And if the only tool you have is a hammer, you're going to break stuff. And that's precisely what Donald Trump is doing right now.
Transparent administration.
You'd get more views if you were more racist. More racist implies I'm decently racist, but I need to increase the racism dial more.
In history, expressing our disagreements in public. So clearly the attitude from the president and from the White House more broadly is, sort of a boys will be boys attitude here that you get from that particular statement from Caroline Leavitt, that these two people disagree, they're disagreeing in public, and the president is getting a range of views in terms of all the inputs as he considers where to go with this trade war, guys.
Yeah, I mean, look, to David's point, like, Navarro took a shot at Musk on the air in response to a shot, I think, that was taken at him. One of them is a CEO that operates a business that does a lot of business in China and around the world. And the other is a hawk on trade. So right. I think it represents, how a lot of CEOs are feeling what Musk is channeling.
And the question is, from Trump's perspective, is which of these two people does Donald Trump trust more? Is going to be a longer-term player in the Trump orbit, has been a longer-term player in the Trump orbit. And I would just point out to you that Peter Navarro literally went to jail last year to politically protect Donald Trump.
That's his guy, bro. That is his guy. He is the Fedayeen, okay? Trump, what? Aren't you avidly anti-Semite? Is that not enough for chatters? That's funny. Let me tell you something. Peter Navarro is a loyal soldier. And Trump also agrees with him. Trump agrees with him on the tariff shit. He thinks Peter Navarro is bold, brave, and a future-minded person. Have you seen the market rebound? Yeah, it rebound from this, let me tell you, okay? It's deep red again.
Elon Musk hasn't done that. Elon Musk has been here for a couple of months. He's been very close to the president over those couple of months. But the Navarro relationship with Trump is longer standing.
Yeah, I know. This is what caused him. This is why Elon called Peter Navarro a moron. The girlies are fighting. This is what Navarro said. Also known as Peter Navarro, also known by the anagram fake name, what was it? Ron Vera. Okay, that's right. Peter Navarro, also known as Ron Vera. Very famous Very famous analyst Ron Vera, okay? Heavily featured in all of Peter Navarro's books as a China expert. I'm, of course, referencing Elon called Navarro R-wordo. Wait, what? R-wordo?
When it comes to tariffs and trade, we all understand in the White House, and the American people understand, that Elon's...
He called him, what, retordo? What the fuck? He said Peter retardo? What the fuck? Dude! Bro! You're 60 years old! What are you doing? This is the wealthiest man, one of the most powerful individuals on the planet, dude. Holy moly. Holy Toledo. Yeah. Dog shit 3 and retardio has hit the timeline. A new coin, a new retardio coin is coming out, okay? A new cryptocurrency. This time Peter Retardio. Retordo or whatever the fuck is called. This is so ridiculous, dude.
A car manufacturer, but he's not a car manufacturer. He's a car assembler in many cases. If you go to his Texas plant, a good part of the engines that he gets, which in the EV case is the batteries, come from Japan and come from China. The electronics.
I'm not gonna lie, this is the first time it's been kind of funny, but because of how stupid it is, okay? Like just so deeply unserious that a 60-year-old man is saying this. That's crazy. That's like, what are we doing? This is so insanely childish, dude. Oh my God. The most powerful man in the world who can't get past Act 1 in Path of Exile 2 and must pay a Chinese peasant. Also, before people get mad at Elon, I mean, he literally is neurodivergent, okay? It's his word. He likes to use it a little too much, but it is his word, okay? What am I supposed to do as as an outsider looking in? What am I supposed to do? You know what I mean? This guy, I can't tell him not to say it. He has the pass, okay?
Come from Taiwan. The tires come. What we want, and the difference is in our thinking and Elon's on this, is that we want the tires made in Akron. We want the transmissions made in Indianapolis. We want the engines made in Flint and Saginaw, and we want the cars manufactured here. It's like this business model where...
Bro, if I hit 127 on the autism test, Elon probably broke the fucking scale, okay? Calm down.
BMW and Mercedes come in to Spartanburg, South Carolina, and have us assemble German engines and Austrian transmissions. That doesn't work for America. It's bad for our economics. It's bad for our national security. We want them to come here. And with Elon, it's fine. He's a car man. He's a car person. That's what he does. And he wants the cheap foreign parts, and we understand that. But we want him home. We want him home for our national security and economic security.
You just said he's never been actually diagnosed. His mother just said he was autistic and everyone believed her. Brother. Come on. Are we really doing this right now? Like you're disputing whether or not Elon Musk is autistic. This is the level that we got to. Like, I get it. A lot of chatters are neurodivergent, autistic themselves. They don't want to have that brand association with Elon Musk. I get it. Okay. Totally understand why you would be fighting this battle, but this is a lost battle. Okay. It's one of those things where it's like, it's not. You can keep trying to fight on that hill, but it's not worth dying on that hill. My man is omega autistic, okay? He is very, very neurodivergent. Like you can't act in that way. Like he's not Sheldon, okay? He is not capable of behaving in that way as in a fake fashion.
And everything's good with Elon.
He's also sociopathic on top of that, certainly, but he's to say that he's not like neurodivergent is crazy. All right, let's keep going.
And more deeply loyal.
So that was the reason why Elon Musk said Navarro's a truly moron. What he says here is demonstrably false.
Than the Elon Musk relationship with Trump is, even though the Elon Musk relationship has been so dramatically.
I do love this, by the way, because the girlies are fighting very publicly. The economy is collapsing very publicly. And in the process, the White House will just like, they'll come up with a statement like a mean girl. They're like, whatever, we're the most transparent administration in history, expressing our disagreements in public. It's actually cool that we are an administrative state in complete disarray. It's fine. Whatever. It's actually making America great. Awesome.
Public over the past couple of months, and we've seen all these pictures of Elon and the president together. That is a relatively new relationship. So if you're Donald Trump, who do you listen to more intently there? Is it Musk or is it Navarro? Of course, Trump has enormous respect for Musk, his history of building companies, and his wealth as well.
And his wealth and the money that has obviously been contributed to both support his campaign and other Republicans around the country as well.
That is. Yes.
Eamon, everybody I have spoken to, again, close to Musk indicates that when you see the two together, you really, not many get to fly on the helicopter to Air Force One, but Musk does. I don't know if you've heard the same, but they, because you're always looking for that. I've been asking, well, aren't they going to at some point end up fighting with each other? And the answer has been uniformly no. Not if you see them together. So I'd be very curious as well. Eamon's point is a good one in terms of if there is somebody to side with, which way do you go here?
But it all is happening, of course, Eamon, at the same time, as we've been saying, where it seems as if the Navarro hardline camp is maybe in a little bit of retreat or sideline for the moment. And, yesterday he had an op-ed says no negotiations, and by the end of the day, all we're talking about is negotiations.
Yeah, exactly. And the White House saying, well, at the time Navarro wrote that statement, that was the operating principle here at the White House, and maybe that's shifted a little bit. Clearly over the past, I would say, 12, not quite 24 hours, the Navarro wing has been a little bit in retreat here at the White House. Navarro on CNBC yesterday morning saying, this is not a negotiation, laying out a vision of tariffs as more of a permanent economic state of affairs. Then you had
Trump is not very loyal to his friends. He's not known for that, but he is loyal to one thing, and that is the almighty dollar. Anybody that puts it in his pockets, he will serve, okay? He will be a servile little piggy to you, okay? He will. And Elon clearly has a lot of it and is willing to give a lot of it, okay? He's spending a lot. So I would say this is a match made in heaven. That's the only thing that's kept him around, regardless of his major L's here.
The Treasury Secretary putting out this statement that he was negotiating with the Chinese at the president's direction, indicating that it very much is a negotiation. And the president sort of waffling on all this in the Oval Office, saying, you know what, it can be both. It can be both a negotiation and a permanent state of affairs. And so I think this goes back to this discussion last week in the market of whether or not April 2nd would be a clearing event for the markets and we would now get certainty. Clearly this is going to be an ongoing process. There are going to be negotiations. There are going to be levers pulled by this White House. Things are going to fluctuate up and down, and that will. My guess is, just my analysis and nothing more than that, is that will last throughout the president's term, because the president likes tariffs. He likes the unilateral control. He likes the ability of the tariffs to force countries and companies to come to the Oval Office and offer him deals. You heard Scott Besson talking about, we'll see what these other countries have to offer. The president sees that as him being in the driver's seat economically and then being able to carve out a deal in each case that's best for American workers. And they're very much focused here on workers, not on markets.
Well, they are being transparent, even when they're fighting, to Levitt's point. That's happening. More palace intrigue, I guess. Thank you, Eamon. Eamon Jabbers.
You bet.
I think one of the funniest parts about this, by the way, within the conservative media sphere, is that the more these guys hit this note, the more they make the economy scream, the more Fox News and all of the adjacent, independent right-wing content creators as well that get their notes from the admin, that try to run defense for the admin, focus on random irrelevant shit like trans people. Okay? I think it will get to a point where even the dumbest of our even the dumbest of our citizens will start recognizing that maybe it's not time to talk about trans people, okay? Maybe it's time to talk about the economy a little bit and how much their 401ks have gotten punished in the process, or what will happen to prices due to the ways in which this administration is moving, due to the fucking tariffs that they're slapping onto everything, okay? And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because while this is what's going on, here's Joe Weisenthal dunking on David Sachs saying Black Monday hoax is over because the market rebounded. Turns out, not that much. Markets peaked exactly 20 minutes later. Jim Cramer, better watch out. There's a new anti-prophet in town, says Craig Herring. Okay. And while this is going on, what is Fox News covering, especially at the eve of the Trump administration saying they are going to put 104% tariffs on Chinese goods that are going into effect tomorrow? Here is Ari Drennan. Gender chaos. 2 trans athletes compete in women's pool final. Biological men compete for a women's championship. On Outnumbered, on Clay Travis, or on the morning show, and also on The Five. That's all they're doing. I need you to understand something, okay? If you cannot wake up to the reality that they just throw this in front of you like fucking red meat to distract you because it's utterly irrelevant and inconsequential in your life in times where they're doing things that are very relevant and very consequential, like ruining your fucking future, ruining your retirement opportunities, ruining the goddamn global economy, and also potentially exploding the cost of living crisis. If you don't recognize that this is used as a simple distraction, you are the biggest dumbass of all time. Now, a lot of people are dum-dums. They do actually eat this shit. They do love this garbage. They're like, I need to consume more of this garbanzo. It makes me feel good. It gives me a semblance of control over my life when I can think about a trans person I can dunk on. Irrelevant. Utterly irrelevant. It is a simple distraction. When will Republicans learn? I think they will learn when they keep hitting these notes and they run out of stories and they just like make up new ones, I guess, while their fucking 401ks have evaporated and the price of an avocado is now $25. When that happens, they'll be like, nope, okay. Seems to me like I don't give a shit about this stuff. Why are you talking to me about this? Talk to me about my money. Talk to me about why my treats are more expensive. Anyway. They do not eat avocados. Republicans absolutely eat avocados. You are wrong. Yes, they do. Hogs eat avocados too. Get out of here. The idea that like that's old hat thinking. The idea that hogs aren't like millennial hipsters from 2016 now. All of the hogs have become millennial hipsters. If you don't recognize that, you are wrong. You will not understand the consciousness, the collective psychosis that hogs find themselves in. You have to understand. You must understand the hog. I love the hog. I love the hog mindset. I follow the hogs. I get my notes from the hogs. I am a hog in my heart, mind, body, and soul. Okay? This is a serious competitive advantage that I have as a commentator. I love the hogs. I love when they scream. I love when they squeal. I love following the hogs. And I think that it's important to do so. It's important to cover them. That's why I look at the Asmongold chat all the fucking time to just see what the piglets are saying. You know, I want to see what they're up to. I want to see what they're paying attention to. Anyway, yeah, I was born in the pigsty. I did not adopt it. Fox bit on how tariffs are manly and masculine. Oh, hell yeah. Could Trump's tariffs be the ultimate testosterone boost? Amazing. Greg Buttfelt with his poop coffee mug.
Trump's tariffs be the ultimate testosterone boost? The self-proclaimed MAGA lefty says yes. We shipped jobs that gave men who work with their hands for a living and rely on brawn and physicality off to other countries to build up their middle class. And then we imported millions and millions of illegals.
I'm gonna repeat the same thing that I've repeated over and over again. These people, the people that fantasize about manufacturing jobs coming back into the United States of America, are not actually fantasizing about working in a factory floor. They're fantasizing about the benefits and the compensation packages. Okay, they're fantasizing about a world where their wages are enough for one parent in a two-parent household to be able to work and take care of their 3 children, and college is affordable. Upward social mobility is a reality. Okay, jobs still exist in the United States of America as it stands. A lot of them are in the service sector, certainly. Not many of them are in manufacturing. Having said that, however, if we were to bring back manufacturing to the United States of America, that is not going to magically bring up wages. It will take time, even if we built the factories, which we don't fucking have currently, okay? The reality is, without labor union participation in the economy, those wages are not going to increase either. Manufacturing is good because it is a reliable mechanism for consistent output. It's better than construction for that reason, because as long as there's a fucking factory there, as long as you got workers inside of that factory, they're constantly making shit. Okay, and in that process, they are working on the assembly line. They're easier. It is easier for those places to unionize. Having said that, however, it's not a universal principle, as we have found out with Amazon and their union busting tactics. Their tactics of constantly getting people and cycling people out of the distribution facility jobs, because the distribution facilities have to exist everywhere, and also simultaneously, distribution facilities are the closest in terms of the assembly line structure that already exists inside of the factory floors. And yet, Amazon distribution facilities are virtually impossible to unionize, with one exception. Yo, I saw you on the news. Girl was putting you on blast. Who, where, what? Elaborate.
Harold, I guess this is based on the idea that a lot of jobs were manly, construction, manufacturing, TV host, that were then marginalized in this kind of cheap labor economy. What say you?
This idea
I saw
of
this one too.
Bringing back the Norman Rockwell vision of the American workforce, I just don't think is what we want. You look at the countries where I don't know who the young lady that was speaking there, but I think I understand her sentiment. We want jobs that come back where we build things and we make things and repair things. We want to build robots and repair robots. We want to ensure that we're building the next generation of medicines and conceptualizing and building out and thinking through. We're the most innovative, richest country the world has ever known, with the greatest and strongest.
That's not true. That's not the case. Like, that's no longer the case. If that was the case, we wouldn't be having, there wouldn't be such a big fuss over China dominating us in the global trade. In global trade, like, that's just not the case. That's copium.
Military ever. We've done pretty well. We need to keep doing well, but let's not pretend that we're not a country of strength.
Is back. Judge, so Robot Harold says that the past is dead. Forget about the good way.
Yeah, manly jobs. The robot builder. Matt Bruning had a good statement on this. I agree. There's a bit of cargo cultism in which people associate certain labor relations regimes with specific kinds of production and chase the latter, even though it's not necessary nor sufficient for the former. McDonald's workers in Denmark make more than Honda workers in Alabama. Exactly. This is something that I talked about with respect to coal miners. Okay? There's this notion in the United States of America that the coal miners are the backbone of the labor force, right? There's less coal miners than there are fucking Arby's workers in this goddamn country. Okay? We just have fantasized about the old ways in which manufacturing worked in this country. There are plenty of people that are working right now. 23% are underemployed. But there are plenty of fucking jobs in the service sector. The problem isn't necessarily that there aren't fucking jobs. The problem is the pay sucks. Okay? So even if you were to bring back manufacturing, while manufacturing in and of itself has at least like... manufacturing in general is historically resilient in terms of union participation. That in and of itself would not solve the problem anyway. And we're not even building the fucking factories to be able to do this kind of output. That's it. It's so stupid. Like, we have jobs already. This isn't to say it's bad to combat offshoring of manufacturing capabilities. I'm not saying that at all. But make no fucking mistake. Make no mistake. We already have jobs here. The problem is not what kind of jobs we have or whether they're gay jobs as opposed to straight man jobs. The problem is these are jobs that don't pay because capital owners are the problem. The way that we have designed the society is the problem. It's not China that is the problem. China is just playing the same game that everyone else is playing. They're just playing it better than we are, and now we're mad. We designed this structure, and now we're mad that our own design that has given us affordable treats for decades is actually cooking us because China has far too much power, being the manufacturing hub of the world. Friendly reminder, U.S. factory jobs only became synonymous with middle-class prosperity because of mass unionization. Exactly. Trump's mirage of reindustrialized America covers up this central fact. People forget that factory jobs in the U.S. were despotic hellholes until union drives in the 30s and 40s introduced some security, safety, and industrial democracy. Saying you're pro-factory doesn't mean you're pro-worker. The key to bringing back American prosperity is unionization, not reindustrialization per se. It is definitely good to try and bring back manufacturing plants, but we should be real. Because of automation in the U.S., we'll never again have more than 15% of its workforce in manufacturing. For all these reasons, manufacturing's share of employment has been falling in all rich countries over the past 50 years. Even in Japan, which has promoted manufacturing through protectionist trade policy and government subsidies, the percentage of workers employed in manufacturing has fallen to just over 15%. And this same trend is beginning to surface in China because Japan, regardless of the trade protectionism, is still very much susceptible to the same capitalist modes of production and the capitalist interests. Even in China, this is an issue. Okay, despite that nation's massive trade surplus, its manufacturing sector went from employing 30.3% of all workers in 2013 to 29.1% in 2023. Now, places like China, on the other hand, can at the very least make up for the lack of the labor force, or rather, places like Japan also do this to some degree. Instead of doing mass layoffs, they try to maintain people in those jobs regardless of automation, and that is the new method that should be in place, that people should still oversee the robot arms, okay? Automation should not be used as a mechanism to displace the pre-existing labor force. It should be used as a mechanism to lift the burden of the pre-existing labor force. Automation should be automation should be a thing that we are actually excited about so that people don't actually have to work, but they still collect the fucking paychecks, higher paychecks than they ever did, and in less time than they ever did. This is the problem. And if you don't actually change your strategy, if you don't actually change your fucking vision on this, you will never be able to solve the issue, because the issue in and of itself is the wealth inequality, is the income inequality. That's it. Dude, talk about self-checkout. That's the perfect example. Exactly. Self-checkout is there to displace the pre-existing cash register workers, okay? Because cash register workers have to get benefits. They can get hurt on the job, and then you have to do workers' comp. There's so much going on. Labor is the most malleable aspect of commodity production. And, of course, for that reason, it's the one that gets the downward pressure all the time from capital owners, okay? Self-checkout is fine as long as you still have a cashier working the exact same fucking self-checkout process. If you want to do self-checkout, that's all fine. If you want to do automation, that's fine. You still have to have the same labor force. And that would require capital owners to eat away at their profit margins, and they will never do that. It goes against capitalism. It goes against the way that we have designed this system. That is the problem. The system is at fault here. So if you do everything in your power to avoid addressing the real elephant in the room, which is capitalism, then you will never be able to solve these issues. You'll just engage in these cope spirals where they turn around and you fucking say, hey, guess what? We're going to bring back manufacturing to the United States of America, and everyone's going to go and sew socks in a fucking factory. It's not going to happen. No one is going to do that for 13 cents an hour or whatever the fuck. Okay? According to Financial Times' Martin Wolf, were the U.S. to entirely eliminate its trade deficit in goods, manufacturing share of the U.S. employment would almost return to its level from 2 decades ago, leaving roughly 85% of U.S. workers employed in other sectors. Capital-intensive industries do tend to be more conducive to unionization because of workers' disruptive plus economic power. But because of automation, most workers won't get such jobs. The big question today is how to unionize the U.S. workforce that will remain mostly employed in services. Labor's recent revival extends beyond the revitalized United Auto Workers. It includes teachers who struck in 2018 and 2019, nurses who battled the HMOs, baristas who've unionized at Starbucks, and the millions of other service and care sector workers who fought back and won. While manufacturing logistics jobs are particularly strategic targets for unionization, we shouldn't accept Trump's contention that only blue-collar workers are real workers or his hallucination that the path to prosperity is factory jobs for all. We need unions for all. Exactly. Without labor unions, without these factory jobs coming in and unionizing, there will be no American prosperity. The same exact pressures will still exist very much in society. And it's not like these guys are sheltering you from the truth. They are very open about that. They keep saying, no, we're going to bring the fucking, what? Communism is the problem, not capitalism? No, communism is worse. You're right, dude. Communism has existed everywhere in society, in America especially. It's the communist Americans that are ruining the country. Americans are not too good to participate in global manufacturing. This is a straightforwardly imperialist attitude. Absent actual international governance, the best we can hope for is at least be able to implement controls and regulations. People really lose track of the global realities in this debate very quickly. The U.S. manufactures more than every country in the world except for China. The U.S. is responsible for 16.3% of global manufacturing output, despite having 4.2% of the globe's population. Let's say that increases. Okay? Let's say that increases. The only reason why I'm an advocate for manufacturing happening here in the United States of America is not because of some spiritual or idealistic reasons or whatever, because I think like, oh, these are manly men jobs and that's going to be great. We're going to make America masculine again or whatever the fuck. The reason why I say that, the reason why I'm an advocate for it is because manufacturing jobs are more resilient in terms of the pressures against unionization. That's it. And yet there are still incredibly successful methods of not allowing unionization to happen in jobs that are similar to manufacturing, at least like in the Amazon distribution facilities. But the problem is not the lack of manufacturing jobs. We have a fuck ton of jobs in this country. The problem is a lack of labor power. The problem is a lack of union power. Remember that. Also, this is very funny here. This is the funniest thing. Weak men create hard times.
Bro, there's no way that's a real thing. Bro, we are slaving away over here. My guy's got it.
Why are you dunking on this guy? Bro, this is so dumb. I mean, this is classic fucking construction worker attitude too. It's like, oh, what a fucking pussy. He's using a thing that helps his back. Meanwhile, your back is fucked up, dumbass. For that reason, you should be advocating to get similar tools at your job site. So stupid. I know, listen, yeah, we should tell construction workers to stop wearing knee pads too. Yeah, no more hard toe boots, okay? No more steel toe boots for you. Don't be a pussy. Don't be a fucking pussy. No more steel toe boots for you, dumbass. Slaving away, a man's on his phone recording someone actually doing something. Yeah, I mean, listen. Listen, yeah, he is more productive in that moment than these two guys are.
No way, bro. Oh, man. We're getting soft.
Yeah, why is he wearing steel toe boots? I can see it. And it's got a fucking mark on it, as in something fell. Why would you be such a pussy? I worked in construction carpentry for 5 years and I had to accept getting splinters, wood, metal under my fingernails because I wasn't allowed to wear bitch mittens. For the record, this is why OSHA is so goddamn important, okay? Because if left to their own devices, I swear to God, and I know these dudes, okay? If left to their own devices, they would fucking literally kill themselves at rates that you've never seen. Do you understand? This is why you have to have regulations. Because these motherfuckers, I'm sorry, are too stupid, okay? No disrespect. But also, much disrespect. Some of you are in the chat and you know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about, okay? It is literally the dumbest. Oh my God. It's corner cutting every step of the fucking way where it's like, oh, shut up, dude. I know what I'm doing. I don't need this. I don't need this dumb shit. It's called confidence, you softy. No, thank God. Thank God for fucking regulations. OSHA is just paid off by the manufacturer anyways. It's a speeding ticket. I know. They work 70 hours a week. Safety, the last concern for these fellas. Bro, that's what I'm saying. And then they go, what the fuck happened to my back? The regulations at unions are what led you to wear safety equipment, take breaks when you need to, and otherwise deal with toxic bullshit at work. I worked road construction in the PA Turnpike. We were a union, thank fucking God. And even then, there's still plenty of issues for the record. But like, if you know anybody that works on a fucking job site like this, I'm sorry. A lot of these dudes do not like the safety regulations. God forbid, okay? But thank God they exist. Once I was on an 18-foot ladder without any help and I wobbled and my whole life flashed before my eyes. I still do it alone because I can't watch you on my phone if there are other people around. Wait, what? Dude, what the fuck? You're such a dumbass. Dude, don't do that. The fuck? Hey, man, I'm on top of a ladder right now, and I'm actually writing this in the chat as I listen to you, and let me tell you, the ladder is fucking wobbling, but it's okay. This is what I mean. They're fucking too stupid. Thank God that there is like some kind of regulation, but they don't even hold to it. They don't even hold you to it. Anyway, I just thought that this was very funny that these guys who also currently have some of those tools that fucking labor unions have fought for, some of the safety regulations that they are taking advantage of without recognizing, okay, shitting on another guy who is also a fucking worker using a tool instead of breaking their fucking back. It's so dumb. Anyway, look at this left-wing commentator talking about how building regulations are important. 45 seconds. Oh, yeah. I know exactly what this video is.
That's my point. It's like, I'm not saying these things have to be.
I know exactly what. Yep. The Dave Rubin, Joe Rogan conversation where Joe's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Eliminated tomorrow. I'm not even really calling for them to be eliminated, but just generally, what problem would you, everything you're building here right now, right? Do you want the government to tell you how to do all these things and all the regulations that you got to have your electric thing this far from this and like all
the regulations like that for construction are important though. You do have to make sure that people don't do stupid shit. But make sure you don't have a power lines near a water line.
Like, if you ever worked at a job site or at least like have done anything with contractors where you have also worked on your own or have friends that are contractors, have family members that are fucking construction workers, you know how stupid they can get, okay? And I say this as someone who does, sometimes in the past at least have worked with contractors and also simultaneously have a brother who loves doing this stupid shit when he's, whatever the fuck he's building. The reality of the matter is you can be an engineer with a fucking master's and still go, it's fine that my fucking gloves have direct holes in it when I'm welding. It's all right. Who cares? Oh, that's just like, oh, I'm using a saw. There's like metal chips everywhere, but it's fine. I don't really need to wear my shoes right now. Okay? It's all right. It's a little bit. It's just.
line. There's a lot of.
But I would put most of that on the builders, though. They want to build things that are good. Now I get it.
That's not true. Listen, people.
People are going to build
corners all the time. Like you have to have regulations when it comes to construction methods, or people are going to get fucked.
They cut corners when there are regulations anyway.
They do. They would cut a lot more if there weren't regulations.
That's my point. It's like I'm.
No, 100%. My brother's a union pipe fitter. He hates the union, hates OSHA. Any labor besides the labor he does is lesser than. I slowly try to radicalize him, but he's legitimately dumb. I think he has too much lead or head trauma. This is a very old interview. Joe Rogan probably has a similar attitude to Dave Rubin now on this issue. All right. Testosterone boost for Trump tariffs. These are going to be manly men jobs that are coming back. We're going to have hard dick men. Okay. We're going to have men with hard cocks working with hard hats. Anyway, Trump is live, and he is doing an executive order to open. Speaking of hard men with hard cocks, Trump is opening up coal plants.
They were all saying, "What is he
unleashing American energy?" Let's take a look.
I liked Lee and knew Lee, and he ended up winning a seat in a massive upset. Nobody knew what happened actually, and then he was there for a long time. How many years were you there? 8 years. Was very popular, and then he almost ran. He almost won the governorship of New York, which is lost by a few points, which was an amazing run. And I said, we got to get you in with us in some form, and we did. And he's head of the environmental agency, EPA, and doing a great job. And I said, if we have a nuclear power plant, Lee, can you get it approved in less than a month? He said, what? He said, I'll do it faster. And by the way, he'll do a fast job, but he's going to do also a great job. It's going to be an important job. We don't even smile about it, but I've been involved in the approval process for a long time, having been in real estate. And you go years and years and years for absolutely nothing. And even in those days, I used to say, this whole thing could have been approved in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and it would have been just as good. But they'd take you down the path, and you'd spend years waiting, and then sometimes you get rejected. I wasn't rejected too much. I was the king of zoning. I did well, but it was such nonsense. It was so terrible. The process was so terrible. But this is the big leagues now, and he's the head person in the whole country, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate you doing it. And already they're respecting you very greatly. So thank you very much, Lee. Great job. So we have a lot of senators and congressmen and women, and I'm going to just introduce the ones that I see here because, it's always a problem when I do this because I leave one or two out, and that's the end. I never get their vote again. I never get their vote. It takes years to recover, but we'll give it a shot because Senator John Barrasso, who's my friend and a great gentleman. Thank you very much, John, for being here. Thank you, John. Cynthia Lummis, fantastic woman who believes like I do. She believes like I do in these people, right? She believes in them maybe even more than I do. That's pretty good from day one. Thank you, Cynthia. You're doing a fantastic job. Kevin Kramer, my friend. Where is Kevin? Because Kevin, I think he was here because he had a problem, and I just will pay my respects. He wanted to be here so badly, but he had a difficult problem that he's working through, and we all love Kevin. John Hoven. John, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Go ahead. Steve Daines. Thank you, Steve. And Steve is a picker of great candidates, like he picked a guy named Tim Sheehy, who's here. Where's Tim? Where is Tim? Thank you, Tim. And Tim Sheehy has turned out to be a wonderful senator, and that was your pick. And we went with it, and you were right. And we have a great one in Tim. So thank you, Tim, and thank you, Steve. Shelley Moore Capito. Shelley, thank you very much. West Virginia. From West Virginia, she has to you have no choice. Even if you didn't like it, you have to like all, right? But they were doing a number on you. They were doing a number on you with the coal stuff, and you have not only coal, but you have among the best coal anywhere in the world. So thank you very much. a friend of mine for a long time. I'm the one that got him to change his religion, in a sense. He changed the party. He went from a Democrat. I said, Jim, you're not a Democrat. But he changed to Republican. He's one of the most popular Republicans and one of the most popular political leaders in the country. Jim Justice. I call him Big Jim. Big Jim Justice. Good. You look good, Jim. And he was in the business. And so am I doing the right thing? You would know better than anybody in this room. Am I doing the right thing, Jim? Huh? I think so, right? Thank you very much, Jim. Cindy Hyde Smith. Cindy, thank you, hon. Very good. Good job. People are going to be happy. And all friends of mine. Mike Lee. Mike, thank you very much. We have a lot of people from Congress, congressmen and women, representatives. Morgan Griffith. Morgan, thank you. Thank you very much.
Are you ready for
Bruce
Recession Boy
Westerman.
Summer? Yeah.
Bruce, thank you.
I'm locked
Bruce.
in.
Bob Latta.
I'm ready to let it rip.
Thank you, Bob. Good job. Troy
It's time
Balderson.
to unleash.
Troy, haven't seen you in a long time.
The
Since
most
that
glorious
early
recession.
race. I endorsed him before anyone knew who he was, and he ended up winning. That was another surprise, right? That was a long time ago. Yep, you're doing a great job. Thank you very much, Troy. Carol Miller. Carol, thank you. Carol, West Virginia. Riley Moore. Riley. Hi, Riley. Thanks. Mike Boast. Mike, thank you very much. Troy Downing. Troy, thank you. Oh, he has something. What is that, coal? Is there coal in that bag? Huh? Even better, it's clean coal. I like it. I'll take it right now. Thank you very much. Hal Rogers. Hal, thank you. Thank you, Hal. Andy Barr. Thank you, Andy. Good luck with everything. I hear good things. Troy Downing. Troy, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Troy. Hal Rogers. Oops.
He's doing
Harriet
a roll.
Hageman.
He's
Harriet.
doing a roll call.
Hi. How are you, Harriet? We just left Harriet. This is one of the finest attorneys you will ever see. I have seen her in action, and she is brutal. I never want her against me, that I can tell you. Dan Muser.
President.
Dan.
Hal
Thank you,
Rogers
Dan.
is my uncle.
Thanks, Dan.
Wait,
Good
really?
job you're doing. Wesley Hunt,
My uncle.
friend,
Hal
too.
Rogers is my uncle.
Wesley, great. I love your commercial. Pete Stauber. Pete, thank you, Pete. Great hockey player he was, right? Great hockey player. And a great gentleman just broke the record of Wayne Gretzky. The great one is Wayne
I gotta
Gretzky,
pee.
but we have another great one too, huh? Just broke the record. It was great. Governor Greg Gianforte. Greg, nice seeing you. Good, Greg. Thank you very much, Greg. Bill Lee. Bill, thank you very much. Patrick Morrissey, West Virginia, just got elected. Mark Gordon. Mark, thank you. Thank you very much. And we have a lot of others, and I'm in trouble because I don't know. I got 5 or 6 others that I see quickly, but I'm just not going to do it. Don't hold it against me because we have to get back to the most important people in the room, these people. You know that, right? So the energy workers and the coal miners in the area that I'm standing on, and that's a lot of weight on this platform, so I don't know what's going to happen. I hope it's structurally designed for you guys. I don't know. But we have just really well-deserving, great American patriots, and it's such an honor to be here and making such a big move, such a bold move in energy. Because, you know, for years, people would just bemoan this industry and decimate the industry for absolutely no reason, because with modern technology and all of the other things that we do, it's one of the great forms of energy. That's why other countries, leading countries, are using it, some exclusively. For 4 long years, Joe Biden and congressional Democrats tried to abolish the American coal industry. They did everything in their power while he was awake, which wasn't much, shutting down dozens of coal plants, banning coal leases on federal lands, and putting thousands and thousands of coal miners out of work, destroying their lives, actually, destroying their lives. I'll never forget when I went to West Virginia, which I won by 48 points, I think, right? Big Jim, I won by 48 points. But in the first campaign where Hillary Clinton was about 4 states too early, and she was
Isn't it
talking
funny
about
how we just
bad
talked about
coal
coal
was,
miners?
and how they were going to teach coal miners
in terms of like the mythology surrounding like real hard hat wearing, hard dick
One thing I learned about
workers.
the coal miners, that's what they want to do. You could give them a penthouse
like,
on Fifth Avenue.
this is
and a
it. This
different
is
kind
the
of a
this is
job, and
perhaps
they'd
one
be
of the
unhappy.
greatest
They want to mine
examples
coal.
of
That's
exactly
what
what I'm
they love to
talking
do.
about.
She was going to put them in a high-tech industry where you make little cell phones and things. I don't know. Do you think he'd be good at that? I don't know. You don't want to be. And
the order will direct federal agencies to remove barriers to coal leasing and mining, loosen environmental reviews of coal projects, and explore whether coal-fired electricity could help power new AI data centers, according to the White House official. The administration also plans to designate coal a critical mineral.
And he was in tears because of what they had done to him and his family. And I hope he's still around, but that man made quite an impression on the world and the public. And we ended up winning in a great election, but we ended up winning by a lot. The Democrats' Green New Scam killed jobs and sent prices soaring here in America. But meanwhile, China opened 2 coal plants every single week, and other countries likewise went very strongly back into coal. Some of them never got off. Those are the ones that didn't have the problems. The Biden energy policy was to put America last. We want to be last. We got to be last. Not a good policy. Under my administration, we're putting America first. It's very simple. America's always going to be first. On my first day in office, I terminated the Green New Scam. I declared the national energy emergency and withdrew from the unfair, one-sided, and extremely costly to the United States only Paris Climate Accord. You know, under the Paris Climate Accord, we had a terrible situation. We would have paid over $1 trillion. Think of it, over $1 trillion. And Russia was paying almost nothing. Russia had a 1992 standard. China was paying nothing. China didn't kick in until 2035. This was 5 years ago. So they didn't kick in for many years. India had no standard whatsoever. But we had the highest standard you could imagine, and we had to start paying from day one, and we had to pay lots of money. We paid for everything. So I was not a big fan of the Paris Accord, and I let it be known, and I got out of it early. Then they went back into it, and now we get back out of it. And hopefully we can be there for a long time, okay? A long time, because it was a scam to take money away from the United States and actually hurt us very badly with coal and with other things. Now, under the executive order that I will sign in a few moments,
you guys simply don't understand. Oh, he said 2035. Okay. Trump has a vision that is future focused. That's why. He's living in 2040. You're still living in 2025. Okay? That's the problem. He thinks in centuries. You think in decades. Okay?
End the government bias against coal, and we're going to unlock the sweeping authorities of Defense Production Act, the Defense Production Act, to turbocharge coal mining in America. They made it impossible.
I just had a coworker conversation, and it didn't go anything like how you said.
I know a friend of mine
I don't
has
know
a plant.
How am I supposed to
said,
fucking imagine what all of your coworker conversations are supposed to look like?
Another form of energy,
So
I won't
funny.
tell you because it's also very good, but it's not as powerful as this. He said, you know, the plant I'm building, the new plant, is literally half as good.
Beijing
It's
calls
no less,
Vance ignorant over
it's
Chinese
not
peasant
probably
remark.
even as good environmentally, but he said it produced half the power for more money, much more money. It'll never compete with that beautiful plant I have down the road, which was really a modernized coal plant. Well, he'll be happy to know that he can open that plant up very quickly, and it's going to produce a lot. But he was complaining. He said, this is so much better. He wasn't doing that as politicking me. He was doing that because that's what he felt. And he knew every form of energy. We talked about that. He knew every form of energy. But our government is going to do something that's very different. And I don't think even you two know about this. This was my idea from about 15 minutes before I got up here. We're going to guarantee that we have a strong business for many years to come, that your coal companies and your miners don't get all excited about their jobs, and then should a radical left liberal become president, they end the business right away, and somebody's built a plant and spent hundreds of millions of dollars in building a plant, and the plant is going to be closed because a Democrat got in or a liberal got in. They're opposed to coal, and Republicans are very much for it, clean coal. And we're going to give a guarantee that the business will not be terminated by the ups and downs of the world of politics. So should somebody come in to this very important office and say, oh, well, you spent hundreds of millions of dollars and you guys have given up your life because you want to be in coal, and then all of a sudden you don't have a life anymore because it's what you know the best, that's not going to happen. We're going to give a guarantee that it's not going to happen, so that if somebody comes in, they cannot change it at a whim. They cannot just going to go, they're going to have to go through hell to close you up. All right, so that's pretty good. We're going to give that in the form of a guarantee that we're writing on right now structurally and from a legal standpoint. So your investments are going to also be protected. And you're going to have no reason to be concerned about your future, your life, or your investment if you're a miner, as this great governor was a miner, actually. He was one of the larger coal miners. He could fit up here very easily, you know, Big Jim. But he was a great success, but they were very, very tough on him. And he did a beautiful job with a beautiful product. Already under our leadership, the Department of Interior has approved the expansion of the Spring Creek mine in Montana, supporting 280 coal mining jobs and unlocking over 40 million tons of coal. And there's more to come. Spring Creek, big one. And there's more to come in the states of Wyoming, Alabama, Utah, North Dakota, and many others. West Virginia, I can't believe they didn't put West Virginia down. It's lucky I mentioned that, right? Can you imagine if I didn't mention West Virginia? I would have been in big trouble. They didn't mark it down here. It's good to have a president like that that can pick that up, right? You think Joe Biden would have picked that up? I don't think so. Gee, they didn't mention West Virginia. I don't think so. I don't think he'd be standing up here either. The value of untapped coal in our country is 100 times greater than the value of all the gold at Fort Knox. And we're going to unleash it and make America rich and powerful again. Under this order, I'm also directing Secretary Wright to use billions of dollars in federal funding to invest in the next generation of coal technology, which is an amazing technology in terms of getting the full potential of coal and also doing it a very clean, environmental way. Pound for pound, coal is the single most reliable, durable, secure, and powerful form of energy there is on Earth today. It's a big statement. You never hear those statements, you know. You've never heard that before from a politician, have you? Well, maybe from that politician, but not from not too many. But that's the way it is. I say it again. Pound for pound, coal is the single most reliable, durable, secure, and powerful form of energy. It's cheap, incredibly efficient, high density, and it's almost indestructible. You could drop a bomb on it, and it's going to be there for you to use the next day, which you can't say with any other form of energy. You're virtually indestructible. Most importantly, we have more of it here in America than anywhere else on Earth. We have more coal than any other country. You go to Australia, they have fantastic amounts of coal. You know who they sell it to? China. They sell it to China. They're nearby. They sell a lot of it to China. But we have more than anywhere else on Earth. We also have more liquid gold than anywhere on Earth. So we're really an energy behemoth, but we're unleashing that also. That's going to be another part. But I didn't even want to mention that. It's not down here because I didn't want to mention today is about clean, beautiful coal. So I'm going to give this to you. This big guy. Should I give it to him? Yeah. You take that.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. For example, we believe it's possible to extract enormous amounts of critical minerals and rare earths, which you know we need for technology and high technology in the process of coal mining, making in America the mineral superpower of the world, actually. In addition, I'm instructing the Department of Justice to identify and fight every single unconstitutional state or local regulation that's putting our coal miners out of business. And we are withdrawing all of those objections from our government today. It's all being withdrawn. So all of you people that have been fighting for your lives, we are withdrawing all of that today. We have excellent lawyers, excellent. Have you noticed that lots of law firms have been signing up with Trump? $100 million.
You forced them. You literally threatened them. Many of them are too pussy to fucking fight back.
Damages that they've done, but they give you $100 million and then they announce that. But we have done nothing wrong, and I agree, they've done nothing wrong. But what the hell? They give me a lot of money considering they've done nothing wrong. And we'll use some of those people, some of those great firms. They are great firms too. They just had a bad moment, but. We're going to use some of those firms to work with you on your leasing and your other things, and they'll do a great job. I think they're going to do a fantastic job.
I mean, for his fans, they don't care. They love it.
For those of you that want to know,
they love it. They love. They love when he stands in front of hard hat guys. That's their big fans. They're big fans of that.
$2 billion a day, and we're doing very well. And we're doing very well in making, I call them tailored deals, not off the rack. These are tailored, highly tailored deals. Right now, Japan is flying here to make a deal. South Korea is flying here to make a deal, and others are flying here. I mean, my only problem is I'm not sure I have enough. We're going to have to use those great law firms, I think, to help us with that. But we're going to probably do that, actually. We're going to use them, and we're getting them for the right price. Because we need a lot of talent. We have a lot of countries coming in. They want to make deals. If I told them about making those deals 2 years ago or 3 years ago or 5 years ago, they'd be laughing at us. Now they're all signing up. Mike, you know that. So it's going to be a great thing. But we're think of that, $2 billion a day. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money even in the coal business, isn't it? Huh? It's a lot of money. And America is going to be very rich again very soon. You're going to see that happening. You see it all along. And it's so that whole situation that, you know, it was somewhat explosive. But if we didn't do that, we wouldn't be talking the way we're talking right now. It's been amazing what's happened. Sometimes you have to mix it up a little bit. But we've had great consideration. We've had talks with many countries, over 70. They all want to come in. Our problem is can't see that many that fast.
We're gonna fire the bombers with coal,
and the money is pouring in.
We're gonna
at
use
a level
coal
that we've never seen before
on our B
and
on our bomber planes.
It's going to be great for
the
other countries.
F-35. How about the F-36? F-36 will be fired. Will be coal plant backed. It will fly with coal.
In any way.
I will unlock the energy potential of coal in ways that you've never considered before.
Now we have tariffs on cars. We have tariffs on lumber. Tariffs on steel and aluminum.
F-36,
steel plants
F-37,
are going up because of it.
F-47.
All over the country. We have 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum, and I think the steel workers like me even more than the coal miners like me. I'm pretty sure that that's true. We have, instead of having no steel business, I put them on originally in my first term. We wouldn't have had one steel mill in the United States if I didn't do that. And now we upped it, and we not only are we taking in a lot of money, but we're protecting our workers, our steel workers. We're protecting our steel industry. And one thing you know, that steel and things like steel you need, because you need it from a defense standpoint. You need steel
when
for
will he
your
stop yapping?
tanks
He will
and
never
your
stop
planes and your
yapping.
everything. And certain industries you can get away with not having, but others you need, and steel is one you need. So I want to let you know that's in full force and effect. And literally as we speak, I spoke to executives in the steel industry over the last few days, and they're all coming in to build plants in the United States of America, because if you build them in the United States, you have no tariffs to pay. There are no tariffs to pay, zero. If you build them outside using outside labor and hurting our businesses, and you send your product in, you have to pay a price for that, and they will be having tariffs, as you know. It's an amazing thing. This has been something used against us for many years by other countries, China in particular, but others, not just China, others, and taken advantage of us, ripped us off, and left us for dead, frankly. And I believe if I didn't become your president, I believe that this country would have had problems like they've never had before, because it was serious damage in so many other ways. Not only the border, where people came rushing into our country from prisons and jails and mental institutions, murderers, drug dealers, and some vicious criminals. 11,088 murderers came into our country. We have to get them out. We're getting them out. 11,088. Of that number, half committed murder on more than two people. And this is what they allowed into our country with their open border policy of lunacy. And we're taking care of that, just like we're taking care of you today. We're taking care of that. I want to thank Kristi Noem and Tom Homan for doing an unbelievable job. The whole thing is, the job they're doing is incredible. It's really an unforced error. It should have never happened, that we have to be spending such time and resources, Mr. Senator, right, on getting people out of our country that shouldn't be here. I mean, literally from mental institutions, insane asylums were opened up and emptied into our country. Prisons from all over the world, not just South America, prisons from, think of this, from Africa, the Congo, a lot of people from the Congo, prisons in the Congo, prisons from Asia, from all over, were opened up. And I knew that when I heard it was an open border policy. I said, if you do that, every country is going to be dumping people that they don't want into our country. And that's what's happened, but we're cleaning it out. And the courts, we had a good decision, as you know, from the Supreme Court, allowing us to do that. We have judges that didn't want us to do it. We have judges that wanted the very evil gang members from Trendy, Iroquois, and MS-13. They didn't want them taken out of the country and put in very powerful prisons. When you look, you've all seen those clips, pretty amazing clips.
DHS revokes parole for hundreds of thousands who entered via the CBP-1 app. It's estimated to be over 900,000 people. The move could leave over 900,000 immigrants vulnerable to deportation unless they self-deport, DHS said.
We don't want them back. Can you imagine? You spend all of that time, energy, and money.
None of these people, these people are in the United States legally, by the way. None of these people are here illegally, regardless of how the administration considers them illegal immigrants or whatever the fuck. It does not matter. The reality is they have their paperwork. They're following through. They are actually working with the government, and the government is punishing them for working with the government and also falsely claiming them.
Like he was a member of MS-13, so they want him brought back.
Falsely claiming them illegal. Violent criminals, terrorists, everything under the sun.
Our country's got to get a lot smarter than it is, but
okay. Also, China says it is not a seeker of trouble, but make no mistake, we will never back down when challenged. Holy Toledo. Holy Toledo.
And that's what they're doing, and I have great respect for those people. And they're doing it out of love. They could get a much easier job. They're doing it out of love for our country. It's so important. Just like I'm doing this with coal today for love for our country. Earlier this afternoon, I signed another executive order to strengthen our electric grid by ensuring that coal-fired power plants are always available to meet surging demand for electricity. Unlike wind and solar, coal plants can run 24 hours a day in rain, sleet, or snow, and you will not be subject to the incredible blackout situation that's taking place in California, where they have blackouts all the time. It's an amazing thing with California. They have blackouts and brownouts at levels that nobody's ever seen before, and all they want to do is keep going the way they're going, and they're doing a very poor job. As you probably heard, I released billions of gallons of water going in from upstate California, from the most northern parts of California.
Brownouts
probably.
are when the providers, like the utilities companies, will deliberately shut off power to certain areas, like in wildfire season, or when there's like unprecedented or historic amounts of wind, instead of fixing the infrastructure, of course, ahead of time and hardening it against such things. They use this as initially it was used as a mechanism of like last resort. Now it's just like normal process. But that leads to brownouts, as in electricity being the electricity grid shutting down in certain areas for an extended period of time.
Systems in houses, a lot of these luxury houses where they had beautiful sprinkler systems, there was no water. They had no water to put out the fires. Water is very good for putting out fires. They just didn't learn it. But we now have millions of gallons, billions actually, they say, of gallons of water pouring into California from the Pacific Northwest, I guess they would say, mostly Pacific Northwest, but other parts of the northern sections of California and beyond. And it's a beautiful thing to see. I saw a picture of it this morning. The water's just flowing down there. I said, why didn't they do this? I told them to do it. My first term, I said, do it.
That's not what a brownout is? Wait, isn't it like certain areas getting electricity shut off?
When I say do it, they do it, right? And
someone said
we actually
brownouts, water is very good for putting out fires. What are you talking about?
To open it up. They had all that water pouring out right.
Brownout is a drop in voltage.
Valve, like a giant valve as big
That's
as
a rolling blackout. Brownout is a failure to provide enough power.
To turn it, and they face it toward the Pacific Ocean, and the water, all that was coming down, all millions and millions of gallons coming down, they put it into the Pacific Ocean, which for the Pacific Ocean is like a drop of water. But for California, it would have been unbelievable. So we did it. I'm very proud of the fact that we did it. We did that against a lot of heat and a lot of environmental nonsense. From now on, we'll ensure that our nation's critically needed coal plants, as an example, remain online and fully operational. They're always going to be operational. And again, we're going to have guarantees that government cannot close them down, close you down, and destroy your lives. To that end, I'm also instructing Secretary Wright to save the Cholla coal plant in Arizona, big plant, which has been slated for destruction. We're going to keep those coal miners on the job. Going to tell them to just remain calm, because we're going to have that plant opening and burning the clean coal, beautiful clean coal, in a very short period of time. You know all about that, right? That's a big one. As part of our historic deregulatory efforts this afternoon, I'm also granting immediate relief to 47 companies operating 66 coal plants, very big ones all over the country, recusing and making them available for coal production almost in the immediate future. But we're going to be crushing Biden-era environmental restrictions. These are restrictions that made it impossible to do anything having to do, frankly, with energy, even beyond coal. It's really beyond even coal. We have clean air, we have clean water, and now we have clean coal. And at the same time, we're going to do other things and with other forms of technology and also energy, like our country has never really seen before and never been known to do before, because of all sorts of restrictions having to do with
what do you mean? What does this mean? What does this mean?
Which, by the way, was devised by
what is he going to do that we've never seen before?
You know that they never even studied anything to do with the environment. It was a young congresswoman. She came up with the idea. And based on that, I guess we only have, well, actually, we should have all been gone, because they gave us only a few years left on Earth, right? Right, Greg? We were going to be gone. We're all going to be gone. The environment. No, what they have to worry about is the nuclear heat. They don't have to worry about environmental heat. They have to worry about nuclear heat. And if we're smart, we're working on that right now with others having to do with Iran and some other countries. But that's the heat you're going to have to worry about. You don't have to worry about the air is getting warmer. The ocean will rise 1/4 of an inch within the next 500 to 600 years, giving you a little bit more waterfront property. They say this is going to These guys can handle that. The nuclear, we have a bigger problem with, right? So we're going to make sure that that's safe. We're going to make sure that that's safe. With us today are some of the amazing workers who will benefit from these policies, the policies that we're doing and so proud of doing, including Jeff Crow, a miner from West Virginia. Jeff, would you come up and say a few words? Jeff? Come on up here, Jeff.
Why is he so obsessed with coal? Because Americans have a mythology around coal because of
Mr.
its
President,
history
thank you for having me and my fellow miners here.
Union power.
It is an honor and a
it's
privilege to be a part of today's events. I believe this past November that America clearly spoke about what we wanted for our country. It is reassuring for Americans to have a president in office who will truly put the United States of America above all else. Thank you. With putting America first, you have spoken numerous times about energy independence. I believe most don't understand the importance of that. Coal is one of the major factors in energy independence and accounts for a large portion of America's energy. Coal is one of the most reliable and cheapest forms of electricity. For too long, coal has been a dirty word that most are afraid to speak about. Most of those that would speak negatively about coal do so from an uneducated standpoint. Many are unaware of the engineering and technology that are used in today's mining to create a clean, energy-efficient product. All of this is done while using the safest practices in the industry. Speaking for West Virginia, coal provides approximately 50,000 jobs for those that work in the mines and the businesses that support them. It also accounts for over 50% of West Virginia's export product. To name a few, we employ engineers, teachers, physical therapists, accountants, truck drivers, high school and college graduates. All of these occupations and graduates have turned to the coal industry to provide a better way of life for them and their families. Everyone in our industry works long hours and days to provide a reliable energy product, and too many times it goes unnoticed. I've personally worked in the industry for 23 years. I choose to do this daily to provide my wife and children with the life that they deserve. Prior administrations have done all they could to eliminate the coal industry. Sorry, one second, I'm getting there. In my opinion, they have done so with an unethical and uneducated approach. But we are still strong, we are still here, and we are still needed in order to make America great again. Having a president and an administration that understands the need and importance of coal is more than appreciated. It gives the industry a form of reassurance to know that we have a president in place that supports us. From my family to the over 3,000 employees of ACNR, and for the coal companies, miners, and businesses throughout our great country that rely on the coal industry, we say thank you for your continued support. I personally thank you for what you do for our country and for our industry. It has been my pleasure to be here today to help you usher in the golden age of America.
That's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Have you interviewed a climate scientist or reacted to stuff about climate change? I'd love to see that. It's fake. It's fake. But also, it's advantageous.
You did a good job.
It's fake. Climate science is fake and gay, just like all other sciences, believe me. But also, simultaneously, anthropogenic climate change is causing Greenland to be green again. New pathways of trade opening up. How did that happen? Nobody knows. Maybe it's a good thing.
And hopefully you can sell it tonight for a lot of money.
Sir, I'll keep that one.
That's great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jeff. And also with us is Tony Campbell of the East Kentucky Power Cooperative, and Tony's quite a gentleman and very respected in the industry. Come on up, Tony. Thank you.
Popping off in the house again.
Mr. President, on behalf of East Kentucky Power Cooperative, the National Rural Electric Cooperative Association,
this guy's awesome
and electric
looking.
cooperatives across this America, thank you for your leadership to restore American energy dominance. Electric co-ops keep the lights
He
on.
looks exactly like I would assume a coal miner baron would look like.
Of the land mass. We are owned by the communities and businesses we serve and provide electricity to growing communities, new data centers, and manufacturing plants. Mr. President, electric co-ops are powering
perfect.
America, and we are proud to partner with you.
He literally looks like one of those old anti-capitalist drawings of like a piglet capital owner. You know what I mean? Like a baron. So perfectly rotund. He needs a monocle and a top hat.
Our electric cooperatives in Kentucky understands the importance of reliable, affordable, and American-made energy, especially coal and natural gas. Coal fuels most of the electricity generated by our cooperative. America must keep coal plants open and running to ensure reliable electricity when we need it most. To meet growing demand over the next decade and ensure fuel security, America will need more always available electric generation power, such as coal. And we want to recognize the hardworking American men, women that support our mission. To all America's line workers, our coal miners, thank you for your dedicated service to our country. Affordable and reliable electricity is the cornerstone of our economy, especially American manufacturing. However, too many government leaders have pushed policies that have made our electric grid significantly less reliable and our energy too expensive. That begins to change now. Your actions today will prevent the premature closing of essential power plants and help us meet tomorrow's energy needs. And they will help us continue to deliver reliable, safe, and affordable electricity. Mr. President, thank you in particular for providing immediate, much-needed relief from the Biden EPA regulations that would force the shutdown of critical coal units. Finally, I want to say congratulations on the all-star energy team you've assembled. Electric co-ops have already been working with Secretaries Burgum, Wright, and Rollins, and Administrator Zeldin, and we are excited for all we can accomplish together. Mr. President, thank you again for your actions today and for your support for the electric cooperatives as we work to keep the lights on in America. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you very much, Tony. Appreciate it. Every day under the Trump administration, we will continue to lower costs for American families, create jobs for American workers, and very importantly, unlock unlimited amounts of affordable American energy, including, as I said, and I'll say for the last time, beautiful, clean coal. Our country is blessed. Our country is blessed with the most abundant natural resources on earth, as nobody has what we have. And we're going to use it, too. We're going to use it in a very responsible way. Together, we're going to tap that magnificent potential to give our people the glorious future that they deserve, better than they've ever had in the past. I mean, they had a good future, a little, if you look 20 years ago, they thought they had a good future, and it was ripped away from them, torn away from them with nonsense. And we're not going to let that happen. This is going to be a glorious future for them. And I want to thank everybody for being here. And I want to thank you and you and you and that whole group and our senators, by the way, and our great congressmen and women for being here in such a large number, because you've been helping us make these decisions. These are big decisions, and this is a really big one. And this is one that's going to be, I think we're going to look back and with great pride at what we've done today, not just in putting people to work, but at really reawakening our country. And thank you very much, and thank you all for being here. Thank you very much.
Okay. So coal accounted for 60% of U.S. energy in 2023. Seems like companies are willingly moving away from coal. Why don't they push better energy sources? Fucking stupid. I think it's the mythology surrounding coal as a signifier that you're pro-labor. Like, it's the same dynamic that even supposedly leftists on Twitter engage with sometimes, where they're like, oh, baristas are woke and gay and trans and not real workers. Coal miners, on the other hand, are hard hat wearing workers like Anthony Fauci right here, who apparently lost his job in the National Institute of Health and now has to work in a fucking coal mine. Okay? It's just like, it's blue collar. It's the peak of like a blue collar job. That's what it is. It's a hard job. And the harder it is, the shittier the conditions are in the job, the better the more of a real job it actually is. Ironically enough, a big part of the reason why like coal mining jobs have become less common year over year is not necessarily because of the environmental regulations, but it is directly a consequence of automation. Automation displaces the pre-existing labor force, and it certainly has played a very... I found that those types of leftists all predictably join the ACP law. Yeah, exactly. When Donald Trump says he's like unleashing coal, he's not talking about like unleashing coal mining jobs or offering them additional benefits or whatever. He just means like, you know, we'll open up new coal mining opportunities for the coal business owners, but it's not necessarily going to help explode the capabilities or the labor power of the coal miners. Okay? And it's the same exact problem with Donald Trump talking about reshoring manufacturing. It is not about good jobs or good benefits. It is simply about fucking over China and the manufacturing power and the political power that they get off of the manufacturing power that they have, with no real purpose, with no real interest of improving the pre-existing labor conditions in this country. Because the reality of the matter is, it's not like this country doesn't have any jobs. We do. We have plenty of fucking jobs. Baristas are jobs. Librarians are jobs. Government regulators working at the federal authorities are jobs. They're firing those people and also simultaneously undermining their collective bargaining agreements at the federal level as well. TSA is a job, right? The issue is not the lack of availability of jobs. The issue is that these jobs don't fucking pay well. Trump believes this stuff because he's a dim-witted asshole. What is this? Gary Cohn, the prince that was promised? Why don't we manufacture things at home, Lindsay asked. We're a manufacturing country. Of course, the United States manufactured things, but the reality did not match the vision in Trump's mind. President clung to an outdated view of America. Locomotives, factories, a huge smokestacks, workers busy on assembly lines. Cohn assembled every piece of economic data available to show that America's workers did not aspire to work in the assembly factories. It's not even that Americans don't want to work in these fucking factories either, by the way. Because, like, Americans will work anywhere. It's the same thing that I mentioned about, like, fracking. Why does Western Pennsylvania love fracking? Okay, seemingly. even though that is also in dispute. But why do the people defend fracking? Because it's a decent paying wage job in an area where there was no jobs for 30 fucking years. That's it. That's it. And it's heavily backed by subsidies by the federal government. It's not like these guys in Western Pennsylvania are like, no, my epigenetic memories require me to work in a fucking fracking field, okay? This is my genetic predetermined destiny. That's not the reason. It's because they associate that sector, that industry, with decent wages. If the government was heavily subsidizing renewable energies like, you know, the Chinese century of prosperity, okay? If we were doing the American Communist Party, the Communist Party of America style central planning, and we focused our efforts entirely on renewable energies, then those guys would be the number one dick riders and loyalists of solar. It's just entirely about what gives them an opportunity to make a living. That's why I get mad when people talk about like retraining initiatives not working. It's not even retraining, it's just training. If you are from an area where there is no jobs because industry left as a consequence of NAFTA or as a consequence of just offshoring manufacturing, and you haven't had a good paying job for 20 fucking years in your neighborhood, and then all of a sudden this new thing comes around, okay, and it's fracking, you're going to be Mr. Fracking. And you're going to get the training to do the fracking. It's not like you knew how to do fracking beforehand. It wasn't a skill set that was applicable. You got trained to do it. It's not retraining, it's just training. The point here isn't to get these guys to learn to code and make them code serfs, even though that part already happened. Everybody learned to code, and look at the coding sector now. Fracking is not a jobs provider at all, please. No, I'm just talking about the environment, the mythology surrounding fracking and where that comes from and why people think it's a way of life that cannot be taken away. Anyway, each month, Cohen brought Trump to the latest job openings and labor turnover survey called JOLTS, conducted by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. He realized he was being an asshole by rubbing it in because each month was basically the same, but he didn't care. Mr. President, can I show this to you? Cohen fanned out the pages of data in front of the president. See, the biggest levers of jobs, people leaving voluntarily, was from manufacturing. I don't get it, Trump said. Cohen tried to explain. I can sit in a nice office with air conditioning and a desk and stand on my feet 8 hours a day. Which one would you do for the same pay? Cohen added, people don't want to stand in front of a 2,000-degree blast furnace. People don't want to go into coal mines and get black lung. For the same dollars or equal dollars, they're going to choose something else. Trump wasn't buying it. Several times, Cohen asked the president, why do you have these views? I just do, Trump replied. I've had these views for 30 years. That doesn't mean they're right, Cohen said. I had the view for 15 years. I could play professional football. It doesn't mean I was right. I live in Eastern Oregon. All the blue-collar conservatives around here aren't all about fracking. They're all about wind power because those are the available jobs here. Exactly. Exactly. Anyway, let's get back to Leavitt. Secretary Caroline Leavitt holding a press briefing at the White House talking about Musk versus Navarro. The girlies are fighting now.
Follow-up. There's been some public sparring between Elon Musk and the president's trade advisor, Peter Navarro, on some of these tariffs. Musk actually referred to Navarro today as being, quote, dumber than a sack of bricks. Are you at all, or is the administration, the president, all concerned that this is maybe impacting?
Yeah, I'm from West Virginia, bro. I promise these co-workers will go work at the most lived up coffee shop in the world if they would like make $100K a year, and they would admit it to you too. Exactly. You think they prefer to work in the goddamn coal mine and get fucking black lung? They would literally get septum rings, okay? Your 45-year-old relative living in West Virginia will get a fucking septum ring and start talking about bodies in spaces if he was getting paid $100,000 to work as a fucking barista at a, queer presenting coffee shop. That's it. You'd be like, yeah, I'm bisexual now. That's right. It's just where the money is. That's all it is.
The public's understanding of these tariffs, it might be messing with the message on it?
No, look, these are obviously two individuals who have very different views on trade and on tariffs. Boys will be boys, and we will let their public sparring continue. And you guys should all be very grateful that we have the most transparent administration in history. And I think it also speaks to the president's willingness to hear from all sides, that he has people at the highest levels of this government in this White House who have very diverse opinions.
Boys will be boys when you're talking about two dudes that are 60 years old.
Yes, thank you. You mentioned the 70 countries or so.
By the way, this is hilarious because Donald Trump, for some weird reason that I simply cannot understand, because Donald Trump is like at least close to China, close enough to China, and has dealt with China in the past, thought that China would just like back down and call him. And I don't know why he thought this. And now they're going back and forth, and China's like, we're not backing down from this. You want to fucking play this game? Like, we can hold out.
I'm curious, though, under what conditions at this point would President Trump talk to President Xi about tariffs?
Look, I just spoke to the president about this, and he believes that China wants to make a deal with the United States. He believes China has to make a deal with the United States. It was a mistake for China to retaliate. The president, when America is punched, he punches back harder. That's why there will be 104% tariffs going into effect on China tonight at midnight. But the president believes that Xi and China want to make a deal. They just don't know how to get that started. And the president also wanted me to tell all of you that if China reaches out to make a deal, he'll be incredibly gracious.
Oh, now he's going. Yesterday he was saying China's paranoid. Yesterday he was talking about how Xi wants to call me. He just doesn't know what my number is. Today he's like, Xi, I would be so gracious. Here's my phone number. I'm just, oopsie, did I leak my phone number? Come on, Xi. For good old time's sake, remember my granddaughter knows Mandarin. Come on. Xi Jinping. Give me a call. Give me a call. Xi, call me. Call me Xi. Xi. Please, Xi. I've learned how I've learned how to speak Mandarin. Come on, Xi. Tian Shang Tia Yang Hong Ya Hong Tong Tong E. Xi Hong De Taiyang Xi Mao Zedong E. Dao Ling Dao Woman De Xi Feng E. Renmin Fashion Dao Zhang Zhou Zhou Zhu Rain. Xi. Call me Xi. Yeah, Xi O A. Yeah, Xi O A. Renmin Fashion Dang Zhang Zhou Zhou Zhu Rain. Believe it, Xi.
But he's going to do what's best for the American people.
So China has to call first?
The Chinese want to make a deal. They just don't know how to do it. But the president will be implementing these 104% tariffs on China tonight.
Under what conditions?
Wait, come on, dude. Mandarin. Trump talking Mandarin is a banger, and you know it. I've had two bangers on the China stuff. The one is like the Chinese hog that hates affirmative action for the Uyghurs and the Tibetans. And the second Chinese banger now is Trump speaking Mandarin. Ni hao, Xi. Ni hao. Tensions between China and the United States continue to rise as China blasts JD Vance over Chinese peasants' comments and vows to fight against tariffs. As Trump threatens further tariffs, Vice President JD Vance stirred controversy with his comments that the U.S. was borrowing money from Chinese peasants. I like that a big part of, like, look. I'm gonna say something that's like not technically in line with dialectical materialism. Okay, I do think that people, especially sometimes governments, can be motivated by other external factors as well, or internal factors as well, beyond the way that history moves. Okay, beyond certain materialist frameworks. I will say that there is, not to get too libbed up and not to be too much of a fake socialist and blaspheme here, but I think one of the major motivators for the Chinese government is also overcoming the century of humiliation. And when you say things like Chinese peasants are who we are borrowing money from, that I think probably makes it virtually impossible for the Chinese government to look at that and go, okay, we're going to come to the table and treat you as peers. Because when you look at a country that was able to improve their material conditions over the course of a relatively short period of time, when it's at its highest point of prosperity, when they look back at their century of humiliation and look to the future as a century of prosperity, and you got a declining empire and its stupid fucking leadership being like, saying racist shit, being like, oh, these are just Chinese peasants, I feel like that probably makes it less likely that these guys will ever come to the fucking table. That's it. Like, if your goal is we will serve Europe our salmonella chicken and they will like it, they will eat it and they will like it. They will take our hormoned beef and they will eat it and they will like it. Okay? It's just not. And also simultaneously turn around and say things like, we are going to decouple trade from China. And everyone will like it after we designed global trade to constantly rely on places like China to give us cheap commodities at the cost of ruining domestic labor capabilities. It's just, it doesn't seem like a feasible plan. Here is Sean McCarthy's attitude on this that I thought was really good. He is criticizing Peter Navarro in Financial Times. Peter Navarro's words in Financial Times after reading the piece and his demands. He says, Peter Navarro in Financial Times demands that Europeans eat our hormone beef and salmonella chicken. This is something that I've also talked about quite a bit because those are like the places where we could make up for trade deficits. He says that any state-owned enterprises are cheating. This is also true. This is unironically a big part of the European anger as well. Remember Ursula von der Leyen's words a year ago, where I told you, like, Ursula von der Leyen, I showed you, was like very angry at the subsidies that the Chinese government was giving the electric vehicle companies, and therefore they were making EVs at a price point that made it impossible for European manufacturers to compete with. They consider that cheating. This is the basis. They are mad that a command economy will absolutely dominate global trade. And instead of looking at that and going, wait, why don't we do that? We have unimaginable amounts of wealth. Why don't we also do that? Why don't we also use this wealth to drive wages down, or not drive wages down, sorry, drive prices down while keeping wages up through subsidies? Instead of doing that, they're just saying, like, no, they're just cheating. You should also do it the way we're doing it. Freudian slip, yeah. I can't even fucking entertain a hypothetical scenario where European leadership, European capitalists will ever fucking not drive wages down. That there will not be any negotiation, that the sweatshop slaves Americans exploit for cheap goods have been ripping us off the entire time. Navarro absolutely wants a full-blown trade war with China. This is true. Wall Street is not pricing this in. They're smart people. Maybe they know Navarro will lose influence and Trump will reverse himself here. Maybe they're in denial. Navarro's goal is full-scale reshoring by private capital. Because, and this part is very important, state-owned enterprises are cheating. He has no plan to manage this transition or reduce the pain it would bring to the U.S. consumers. He expects private capital to do it all himself. This is a major problem here. Because the enemy is not China. The enemy is capital. And the American government cannot recognize this because the American government is designed around literally combating that attitude. The American government will never, ever engage in anti-capitalist initiatives, things that actually harm the profit margins. They can't do that. They are not designed to do that. This is precisely the problem. This is also the reason why the reshoring initiative will be a spectacular fucking failure. There's no sign that Trump disagrees with any of this. Both correctly identify U.S. trade deals as a problem, but ideologically they cannot countenance any role for the government in fixing the problem, except for giving free money to connected private sector firms. In China, 9 out of the 10 largest firms are state-owned enterprises. There are state-owned banks for industry and agriculture. There are state-owned petroleum, railway, chemical, and steel companies. Maybe the Chinese system is just better. Maybe if manufacturing and industrial capacity is important to the USA, we should ensure their continued existence through our own state-owned enterprises. Of course, this cannot even be discussed here. It's socialism, and it doesn't work even though it's working fine in China every single day. So we are going to pray to God of the free market to fix this. This short-sightedness is not the stupidity of just the Trump administration alone. This short-sightedness is the reason why the maximum, the best you're going to get is the CHIPS Act. Okay? It is straight up a byproduct of the duopoly that we have in the United States of America, where the most you are going to get out of the Democratic Party, which is supposed to be the ostensibly left party here in this country, is going to be a neoliberal private-public sector partnership where private capital fixes the problem in a magnanimous fashion. And yet they have never done such a thing, and they will never do such a thing. Okay? Of course they are not going to do that. They're just going to take the money and do exactly what they've been doing. Those short-sighted multinational firms who would rather buy back their own stock than invest in R&D are suddenly going to make long-term investments in reshoring in the middle of a massive global recession. We might as well start making human sacrifices at the altar of Milton Friedman at this point. For now, the stock losses are just numbers. In the weeks and months ahead, they will transition to layoffs and consumer price increases, stagflation. At that point, there will be a major pressure to reverse. At that point, it will probably be too late, unless we want to allow some role for the government. No, I didn't think so. I'll be arrogant enough to say I think financial markets are wrong in their belief that Trump will repeat this usual pattern of getting small concessions and dropping the issue. Navarro is in charge until he causes too much damage to be fixed by a simple reversal. If he had his way, we'd all eat shit for the next 4 years while he waited for his cargo called private capital to solve everything without any defined government plan. Basically, buckle up, and for the love of God, let's start talking about the need for U.S. state-owned enterprises to fix this mess. That's it. That's it. Because as I've said time and time again, the notion that like, oh, reshoring manufacturing is going to fix this problem is idiotic, because the people that are talking about reshoring manufacturing are actively stating that they have no intention of improving wages. And they have every intention to automate this process so that we can keep prices low. This does not mean better jobs. This does not mean any new jobs at all. This simply means the same wealth disparity that exists and the same depressive forces on the pre-existing jobs that are available still very much exist in this country. People don't want to work in a factory for the sake of working in a factory because they're like super autistic and love being at an assembly line doing the same fucking steel press motion every day for 8 hours a goddamn day. They like it because they fantasize about the 1965 standard of working a 9 to 5, clocking in, clocking out, and then being able to take care of their children with one fucking parent in a 2-parent household, working and being able to pay for a home and being able to create some semblance of upward social mobility for the next generation because they can go to college and they can pay for college. That's what they're fucking fantasizing about, not the aspect, the menial labor aspect of such things. Okay, it's very stupid. Baba burada bağırmayın birbirinize ne olur. Kendimi duyamıyorum baba. Düşünemiyorum. While the WTO technically allows challenges, its dispute resolution system is functionally broken and the consequences have been catastrophic. This dispute resolution system is also functionally broken as a consequence of America undermining the court's power, by the way, the World Trade Organization's power. We did that. The U.S. has brought several high-profile agricultural trade disputes to the WTO, targeting foreign bans on poultry, hormone-treated beef, and genetically modified crops. In nearly every case, the U.S. prevailed, but the victories did not matter. The EU's ban on hormone-treated U.S. beef was challenged in 1996, ruled illegal in 1998, and yet the EU has not lifted it. Name one charity you have donated to that goes directly to improving the material conditions of Palestinians. Wait, what? Dog, I've raised literally multiple millions of dollars for charities that actively work on the ground. What? I effed? Is it effing? What's happening? It's not effing on my end. As someone who makes millions off yapping about the genocide in Palestine, how much of your own money have you donated? Hundreds of thousands of dollars directly to charities and causes that go directly to improve the material conditions of Palestinians via tangible aid and resource before today. And can you prove it? Or are you ever donating your time? Wait, what? Why you act like you don't see important questions? Hello? Are you okay? How did you go from Israel's allowing America to be its hegemon to this attitude in one day? In America, we have a bunch of self-proclaimed socialists and communists that still sell themselves out to capitalism when it suits them. Your complaints until you and your platform can profit from it, though, right? Chatter, most of his chat is fake woke. Oh, never mind. No, he was a hater yesterday, too. He did like my statement on Leon, though. Here, let's unban this guy. He's got great attitude. I didn't ask you nor see proof. Anyone can say he does like I knew someone would. Anyone can say he did, but I didn't ask you. Name one charity you've donated to. Wait. I'm confused. Are you gonna go back on that? Like, yeah, this is one of the many different fundraisers that we've engaged with. Here's $50,000 from me, just one. Now I assume that you're going to turn around and say it's not enough. That's nothing. That's like a tiny margin, right? A tiny margin of your wealth. That's what you're going to say? I unbanned you, by the way. You can respond. Yeah. Here are the funds that went to ANIRA, Palestinian Children's Relief Fund, Palestine Red Crescent Society, and medical aid for Palestinians. Anyway, I hope you get better, chatter. Don't take the bait. I mean, it's okay. Some people probably didn't know that. Maybe they learned about it today. It's all good. Maybe that person was just genuinely confused. These aids do not reach Palestinians anyway. That's not true. That absolutely is wrong. You're wrong about that. As a matter of fact, when an aid organization is no longer able to work directly on the ground, we change our fundraising efforts. And we work with other aid organizations, like in the Creators for Palestine charity. We did other aid organizations that we're still actively working on the ground. So you're wrong about that too. Why is this guy not responding? I'm so confused. What happened? It's been 4 minutes. Did he die? Okay. That's somewhat of a satisfactory answer. Hope it motivated more people to donate. Oh, thanks. Thanks, chatter. I'm glad. Yeah, you did your part, dude. So much of this attitude unironically revolves around I didn't know a certain thing, or rather someone lied to me about you, and that is somehow your fucking problem. But now that I know the truth, I'm still going to take this like weird ass fucking attitude. Somewhat of a satisfactory answer. I give you direct fucking receipts. What do you mean somewhat? Hey, at least he didn't double down. Well, I put my money where my mouth is and ask the important questions. No, dude, you just didn't Google the important questions. You could have Googled this important question and found the answer yourself. But instead of doing that, you came in here with a snarky ass attitude. It's all right. At least you recognize that I was, at least you recognize that you were wrong. And then he acts like this silly ass question in a pro-Palestinian community is going to urge more people to donate. Thank God. Like, it was actually for good reason. So Google is going to tell me better than you how much you donated? Yes. Unironically, yes. And how am I wrong when only ask the question? I was just simply asking a question. You didn't ask a question. The question would be, hey, how much of your time, and I know that because you know that I've done fundraisers, okay? Okay, so obviously you could have just easily Googled it. And if you couldn't find the answer, you could be like, hey, I know you're very pro-Palestine, and I was wondering, because I had an argument with a friend or whatever, that I wanted to know how much you have directly contributed to these fundraisers. I couldn't find it on Google. That's a great way to ask that question. Not, as someone who makes millions off of yapping about the genocide in Palestine, how much of your own money have you donated directly to charities and causes that go directly to improving the material conditions of Palestinians via tangible aid and resource before today? And can you prove it? Or are you only ever donating your time? That's not asking a question. You already have an answer in your mind on that question. You're just snarking. You're implying that I'm actually fake and phony. You're being rude and an asshole and engaging in bad faith and then trying to massage your way out of it and being like, I just only asked the question. We all know what you were doing. I was gracious enough to actually answer you instead of going, hey, I'm sorry. I was wrong about this. I was lied to, and I'm going to reconsider the people that have lied to me about this shit and whether they are being honest next time around. You still fucking yell at me over it. I implied it would have been fake if you hadn't. Okay, chatter. Thanks. We all know what you're doing. 38,000 people in here. Every single person knows exactly what the fuck you're doing. Absolutely no one thinks this was a genuine question. Yapping about genocide, he fucking says. This is not a negotiation. For the U.S., it's a national emergency triggered by trade deficits caused by a rigged system. President Trump is always willing to listen, but to those world leaders who, after decades of cheating, are suddenly offering lower tariffs, know this is just the beginning. It's not about tariffs, okay? It is not about tariffs. It's about trade deficits, and it's about also stopping the Chinese manufacturing dominance around the globe because it gives China too much power.
中方对中美经贸关系的立场已经讲得很清楚了。听到这位副总统说出这样无知又缺乏礼貌的话，令人诧异，也感到悲哀。美方滥施关税，严重侵犯各国的正当权益，严重违反世界贸易组织规则。 严重损害以规则为基础的多边贸易体制，严重冲击全球的经济秩序稳定，是典型的单边主义。
This is a typical example of unilateralism, protectionism, and economic
保护主义、经济霸凌，遭到国际社会
and has been widely opposed by the international community. China strongly condemns and firmly opposes such actions. I would like to reiterate that there are no winners in a trade war or a tariff war. Protectionism offers no way out. The Chinese people do not provoke trouble, but we are not afraid of it.
施压、威胁和讹诈不是同中方打交道的正确方式。中方
China will take all necessary
必将
countermeasures
采取必要措施，坚决维护
to
自身
resolutely
正当合法
safeguard its
权益。
legitimate and lawful rights and interests.
我想美方的
The actions of the U.S.
所
side
作
have
所
not
为
demonstrated any
没有
genuine
体现
willingness
出
for
想要
serious
认真对话
dialogue.
的意愿。美方如果真的想谈，
If the U.S. truly wishes to
就应
engage
该
in
拿出
talks, it should
平
adopt
等、
an attitude of equality,
尊重、
mutual respect,
互
and
惠的态度。
reciprocity.
如果美方置两
If
国
it persists
和
in
国际社会
disregarding
的
the common
利益，
interests of both countries and the international community and insists on escalating the trade and tariff
中
conflict,
方必将
China
奉为到
will,
底。
as always, fight to the end. So they've signaled that they're not going to stop. On the other hand, Trump, for some weird, indecipherable purpose, it thinks that he will absolutely stop. What is this? As an American from a semi-affluent upper middle class background, this video is full of knowledge I've craved and have been denied by uninformed ideologues and Western media. Thank you. This is from 4 months ago from a channel called Red Pen, a summary of Xi Jinping's governance of China. I kind of want to watch this. We might actually dive into that after this.
A tit-for-tat trade war. Markets are dreading it, and most world leaders are trying to avoid it, but not China. It's hit back with a 34% tariff of its own. It's taking the fight to Trump, and this is what escalation looks like. When Trump first came to power, US tariffs on Chinese goods weren't much higher than they were on the rest of the world. But Trump, across his 2 presidencies, has amped up the pressure. Within months of coming into power the second time round, he slapped a 10% tariff on China, then another 10% in March. And that was before Liberation Day, where he hit the country with another 34%. China hit back with 34% of its own. So Trump, well, he threatened, as you can see here, 50%. That would take the effective tariff to 124%. At that level, you're effectively shutting down trade. And this is why he's doing it. His least favourite chart. It shows the US is importing far more from China than China takes back. The deficit's been building steadily. It accelerated in the 2000s after China joined the World Trade Organization and Beijing reformed the economy, boosting exports of electronics, toys, machinery, building what we now call the world's factory. Well, Trump, he's been trying to shut it down. And his mechanism for doing that is tariffs. China is defiant, though. It says it can withstand a Trump assault. And as you can see here, it has become less dependent on the US market for its exports. This is the percentage of Chinese goods going directly to the US. But it doesn't tell us how much trade China has been diverting through other Asian countries like Vietnam, for example, to dodge US tariffs. Well, Trump has wised up to that. He's imposed crippling tariffs on countries across Asia, shutting down those routes. And for all its fighting talk, China does want to negotiate because it will feel economic pain from this, as will US exporters who sent $143 billion worth of goods to China. Prices will go up for consumers, growth will slow. And among it all, it's hard to see who the winners will be.
Mistake upon a mistake. Overnight, China hurled these new accusations at President Trump as it took action, bracing for a real trade slugfest. President Trump is now promising a new 50% tariff on China, on top of the other new tariffs, which are on top of existing tariffs. Combined, this would make U.S. tariffs on imports from China a whopping 104%. And yet, despite all this tough talk, the markets, they seem a little less agitated this morning. After days of these massive losses and trillions of dollars in value evaporated, U.S. stock futures are pointing up, for now at least. It comes, and it may be because of the fact that some members of his administration have relented on their no negotiation stance. Some members of the administration. The markets in Asia, you can see right there, most of them rebounded after their sharp sell-offs. This comes, though, as China accused the U.S. of blackmail, and China is vowing to, quote, fight to the end if the president moves ahead with all of his threats. So let's get right to CNN's Mark Stewart in Beijing here, because the rest of Asia is in a different place than China is right now, and China really seems to be gearing up for a serious fight.
Indeed, John, despite what the White House may want, China and Beijing is making it very clear that it's not going to budge. And once again today, we saw this shift from diplomatic language to something that's
China defined after Trump threatens additional 50% tariffs. China is escalating after Donald Trump started this. China is not escalating. They're not escalating. They're reciprocating. These tariffs are reciprocal. And I think what's interesting about this process is that maybe I'm wrong on this. Maybe I don't know the normies and their attitude here. But regardless of the xenophobia that they demonstrate on a regular basis, I think Trump doing this in a spectacularly belligerent manner is even causing the dumbest of Americans to go, I don't know if this is because of China that we are being harmed here. Like, I don't think, especially because he's directly undermining treats. The treatlerites themselves, I think, are looking at this and going, yeah, I think you're the one who's fucking up the bag here, not China. To use a metaphor, the Chinese economy is not a pond, but an ocean. The ocean may have its calm days. What's up, Beijing? But big winds and storms are only to be expected. Without them, the ocean wouldn't be what it is. Big winds and storms may upset a pond, but never an ocean. Having experienced numerous winds and storms, the ocean will still be there. It is the same for China after going through 5,000 years of trials and tribulations. China is still here. Looking ahead, China will always be here to stay. 5th of November 2018, opening ceremony of the first China International Import Expo. Senior research fellow at Channel 4 News being interviewed. Senior research fellow says trade wars a blessing in disguise for Xi. Time stamped. Let's take a look.
Rise up. How much will the Chinese economy be able to cope without that trade?
Well, interesting to say this. I mean, 34% or 50%, it doesn't make much difference at all regarding the Chinese economy, because essentially what Xi Jinping wanted to do, it is want to achieve that sense of technology self-reliance. It wants to achieve that sense of economic self-reliance. So to some extent, this trade war come almost like a blessing in disguise for Xi Jinping, for him to be able to boosting domestic consumption that he's aiming to do. But however,
yeah, this was another aspect of the Chinese economy that they were trying to work on anyway, which was boosting domestic consumption of domestic goods. So this basically is a forceful way to do that.
Let's put it this way. I think in the short term, it will be extremely painful for the Chinese economy to be able to make that transition. So I think in the short term, it will be something quite disheartening for the Chinese population.
The difference here, however, is that the Chinese government is well equipped to be able to withstand these sorts of shocks because of its centralized planning structure. When all the banks are owned by the government, when all the trades are owned by the government, when all the businesses are owned by the government, they have a lot more power to restructure their economy virtually overnight. When the government, on the other hand, works at the behest of capitalist corporations in a place like the United States of America, they do not have this kind of fast-paced restructuring that China can engage in. This does not mean that there won't be impacts. This does not mean that there won't be issues in the short term, but if there is a country that is able to overcome these economic shocks, it is a country that has a central planned economy. This is precisely the reason why when a lot of the analysts in the West made a great ordeal over the real estate issues that took place, like the was it Evergreen disaster in China, the reality inside of China was Evergrande. Sorry, not Evergrande. Evergrande disaster. The reality internally in China was very different. Oh, Mhud, I already watched I already watched pieces of this, and then I stopped watching it because it was the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Greg Buttfeld talking about how the tariffs are going to be the ultimate testosterone because they're so stupid. It's only a matter of time before Trump says if countries want to avoid tariffs, they can become part of the U.S. He said that in a way that Canada can avoid tariffs. Yeah, I mean, that's not going to happen. Do you see what I'm saying, though? Like, America for far too long has been able to dominate countries that have less diverse industry, less diverse economies, like single resource economies like Venezuela that weren't able to quickly and rapidly diversify with the state sector coming into agriculture, for example, and suffered grave consequences as a consequence of that. I mean, suffered grave consequences with America's sanctions regime. Venezuela is a great example of this. America is able to dominate Venezuela, but I don't think America can dominate China with the same ease, because not only do they have a robust, not only do they have a central planned economy, but they also have a robust manufacturing capability where they can overcome external pressures and external shocks such as this one. Even if in the short term they stand to lose, I think that its rapid urbanization, its even development will, and also its infrastructure will able to withstand these sorts of outside pressures.
Population as well.
As we said at the beginning of the program, it's the politics, stupid, not just the economics. How much of this is a political standoff between the United States, the existing superpower, trying to contain China, and China flexing its muscles to show to its own people and the rest of the world that it's very much arrived on the stage?
Well, absolutely. I think on the one hand, it is more to do with the domestic public opinion towards the United States. I think really throughout the last 8 years, the Chinese public opinion has really been shifted from that sense of admiration towards the United States into the very deep, strong sense of anxiety and annoyance. So Xi Jinping will have to respond to that sense of public opinion. That is to say, he cannot afford to look soft in front of President Trump. That's one layer. Now, I think the second layer in here, as we said, is all about politics. It's also about that China try to somehow upholding the international trading system that he felt, or the Chinese felt, Donald Trump have done something essentially wrong, and hence China want to continue to holding that international trading system for that. So I think there's two layers. One is for domestic reason, but the other is also for international reason as well. And obviously, other countries watching these two to tango very carefully and see how they're going to play their own cards at the same time.
Very briefly, before we move on to something else, do you think this could actually become a proper war, between China and the United States? Because often that's what happens with trade wars.
Well, interesting enough, I think for Donald Trump, he's most likely to waging a trade war against China rather than waging a real military escalation towards China. It's not really in Donald Trump's mindset that it's all about military conflict, but I think instead, what he's trying to do is trying to addressing this sense of the difficulties that the American population has suffered. And then on the other hand, I think the Chinese also would prefer to deal with this in economic terms rather than in military terms.
Now, here in Washington, Donald Trump's team argue that their tariffs are a kind of shock therapy designed to reset the global economy in America's favor. But
for the record, regardless of my regardless of the fact that I mean, regardless of my advocacy against free trade, I am not in favor of trade isolationism to a degree where like every country has to do Jusha style manufacturing. Okay, every country is a Marxist, Leninist, Jushaist, like the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, and that we have to do self-sustaining. We have to have a self-sustaining economy across the board. Okay, I think that's kind of stupid. You know, there are like, I like drinking coffee. Okay, I'm a fan of drinking coffee, which means automatically that I'm not in favor of this, because you can't have it. You just can't build it here. That's not a thing that you can do. I like bananas. It's like one of the few fruits that I consume. You're spot on about this being similar to the decline of the USSR. The Trump admin is even calling it shock therapy. Pretty wild that they think this is going to solve anything. Yeah.
Immediate effect of chaos is already hitting people across the United States, from pensions to car prices. It's even sent Trump's bestie, Elon Musk, over the edge.
Trump's bestie, Elon Musk. All right. Here, this is the maximalist cope position from Fox News, saying that could Trump's tariffs be the ultimate testosterone boost?
Well, isn't that what Obama said, that we didn't have that magic wand for all the manufacturing that's coming back? But look, just talk to Mike Rowe. You know, you don't need a college degree. You can start working with your hands. We need to support the farmers and the ranchers. And, you know, some of that is very accurate, what
Jesse,
she's saying.
You said in the green room, the crisis in masculinity began with the first male flight attendant. Can you elaborate?
It's a stewardess.
There's nothing funnier than a bunch of dudes that get paid $20 million a year to sit around and talk shit for approximately 4 hours every week total while wearing makeup, talking about the crisis of masculinity. It's like, dude, you're a fucking English major wearing makeup that get paid $20 million a year to just be like, yeah, we got to stop being woke and gay. It's like, what are you talking about? Half of the fucking comments that I see on Twitter about how like Americans are going to love to work in factories, half of those comments are coming from dudes who are not in a masculine industry at all. They're fucking podcasters and cryptocurrency traders. How the fuck is that the masculine industry? Like, you're not working in a goddamn factory. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yes, Greg,
Okay.
and they will always be stewardesses. Even if it's a male flight attendant, I say stewardess. They don't respond
They don't
usually.
answer.
That's an artificial stance.
It's also an artificial stance. Hopefully, when you sit behind a screen all day, it makes you a woman. Studies have shown this. Studies have shown this. And if you're out working, like building robots like Harold, you are around other guys. You're not around HR ladies and lawyers.
What do you
that gives
do?
you estrogen.
What do you do?
Oh, great. Oh, my God. Even Judge Janine goes, what do you do? Oh, my God. Even fucking Judge Janine clapped them. By the way, I can't have Joe Weisenthal on tonight because, unfortunately, I got bumped by NBC Nightly News, which is fucking bullshit, for the record. Yeah, Weisenthal primetime appearance equals recession indicator. Yeah, no motion. No, we were talking, and it's literally the time that I was supposed to have him on. Mainstream media sends his regards. Yeah.
Let me finish, Judge.
You sit behind a screen.
Yeah, Dana?
Just one serious thing. It reminds me of the book of Coming Apart by Charles Murray that was from several years ago.
Oh, NBC News now. Actually, he corrected it. They have less viewers than you. He wouldn't know. Yeah, it's okay. Joe doesn't know. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, I think I get higher. I think I get a higher view count than even traditional news outlets anyway, but who cares? Let's keep going.
The jobs thing is one issue for masculinity, but there are many other pieces, including education, religion, and commitment.
Fathers.
You're here.
Yes. Also, if you got a desk job, work shirtless.
Is that what?
Yeah, these guys, the cope is amazing. All right. Let's get to a summary of Xi Jinping's governance of China from this channel called Red
Governance
Pen.
of China is a 4-volume collection of speeches and writings by Xi Jinping, the General Secretary of the Communist Party of China, which outlines the official party
We're doing it. We're diving into it.
perspective on China's development in the 21st century. The writings encompass Xi Jinping's views on economics, domestic and international politics, infrastructure, technology, environmentalism, peaceful coexistence, and military affairs.
He looks hotter now.
The Governance of China is a unique text because it is a book written from a global historical perspective by a statesman with the power to actually shape the future course of a major country. Through an extensive grasp on Chinese as well as Western history and literature, Xi Jinping not only articulates the intricacies of China's internal development, but relates China's development to its growing role in global politics. The text does not present a Western-style critique of capitalism, couched in the language of negation and idealism, but instead presents a tangible framework for concrete steps in the arduous struggle of building a communist society. With the rise of the People's Republic of China, its growing power on the global stage, as well as an emerging soft power conflict with the West, it is increasingly important that the world understands what China is doing, how it got here, where it is headed, and how nations across the world factor into this world historic transformation seen with the rise of socialist China. China's relationship to Marxism-Leninism began in the early 20th century during a time of significant social and political upheaval. The country experienced several major internal struggles for a long period of time, including the Taiping Rebellion in the mid-19th century, the Boxer Rebellion at the dawn of the 20th century, and the overthrow of the Qing dynasty in 1911. The fall of the Qing dynasty was followed by the fragmentation of China into regions controlled by warlords and the Kuomintang, leaving the country in chaos and vulnerable to foreign powers. It wasn't until the 1917 Russian Revolution that the Chinese saw a clear example of how Marxism-Leninism could be applied to overthrow a repressive regime and establish a socialist state. Inspired by the developments in Russia, Chinese intellectuals began to explore Marxism-Leninism as a solution to China's problems, which quickly led to the 1919 Democratic Revolution and the founding of the Communist Party of China in 1921. Mao Zedong, a key member of the party,
Hot. Okay, 125 is better. 15 might be too fast.
played a crucial role in adapting Marxism-Leninism to China's specific conditions and predominantly rural population. His interpretation of Marxism-Leninism, known as Mao Zedong thought, emphasized the potential of the peasantry rather than the proletariat as the revolutionary class, marking a significant departure from classical Marxism but demonstrating the flexibility of Marxist theory in different historical and social contexts. Under Mao's leadership throughout the 1930s and 40s, the Communist Party engaged in various struggles against warlords, Kuomintang nationalists, and foreign invaders, notably during the Second Sino-Japanese War. In building the People's Liberation Army, the party recognized the importance of military strength and leadership. As Xi Jinping states, while it was engaged in violent struggle, the party came to recognize the irrefutable truth that it must command the gun and build a people's military of its own. Chinese people learned that it was an imperative to send the aggressors a message they would understand. War must be fought to deter aggression. Force must be met with force, and a victory is the best way to win peace and respect. We Chinese people do not provoke others, nor do we shy away from trouble. We do not give in to fear or yield in the face of difficulties and dangers. The Chinese nation will never cower before threats or be subdued by oppressors. By 1949, the communist victory in the Chinese Civil War and the establishment of the People's Republic of China marked the triumph of Marxism-Leninism in China and validated its significance in the Chinese Revolution. Over the past 95 years, the Communist Party of China has accomplished so many tasks which were thought to be impossible by other political forces. The reason for this...
It's interesting because their response to the tariffs was literally verbatim one-to-one this statement.
...has been precisely attributed to our adoption of Marxism as our guide of action. This has allowed our party to free itself from the limitations of all previous political forces, which focused on pursuing their own special interests. Departing from or abandoning Marxism, the party would lose its soul and direction. On the issue of Marxism as the fundamental guiding thought, we should not waver under any circumstances.
And for the record, one thing that I want to mention here, we're going to talk about Xi Jinping, but of course you can't do that without establishing Maoist thought in China, and this is his opinion on Mao in his own words. Obviously, Maoism in the United States of America is not. No, that's not. Don't get mad at me, but I don't think it's going to work. You know what I mean? although there have been a lot of successful revolutionary initiatives in the United States of America that have been motivated by Mao, the Black Panther Party comes to mind, okay? The material conditions of the United States are not, it's just incredibly, I want to say difficult, but it's just not going to happen. It's just not a thing. We don't have that. The Iowa peasant Maoist revolution will happen. No, how dare you? One day.
Following the death of Mao Zedong, Deng Xiaoping rose to prominence and initiated the policy of reform and opening up in 1978. Reform and opening up recognized the dialectical necessity of adapting to changing conditions and constantly developing theory to guide necessary changes in practice. For China, the overall purpose of development is to open up to the world through globalization, cultural exchange, and knowledge sharing. The process of opening up produces outcomes that cause changes in the social structure that require reform. Reform and opening up is therefore seen by the Communist Party of China as an ongoing and holistic process that will continue on indefinitely. Deng Xiaoping designed and led the Reform and Opening Up initiative and the modernization drive with a view to improving the well-being of the Chinese people, stressing on many occasions that poverty.
You need to ask clip channels to upload to Bilibili, tons of views, lots of coins, high engagement, and the Chinese netizens glaze you like I've never seen before, calling you a wise foreign scholar who knows the real truth but is depressed that he is unable to change the course of history. That is, dude, why do netizens talk like poets? The average, is it just like a translation thing? I don't understand. Anytime I read any Chinese netizen online, they all sound like fucking scholars, dude. Amazing.
Poverty is not socialism. Socialism
yes,
means
I mean Mao Zedong thought.
Eliminating poverty. Unless you are developing the productive forces and raising people's living standards, you cannot say that you are building socialism. This policy marked a pragmatic shift towards prioritizing economic development over strict ideological purity, emphasizing the use of market mechanisms to develop the productive forces. The reforms introduced under Deng Xiaoping included decollectivizing agriculture, establishing special economic zones.
Yeah, for me, I've said the Dengus Gambit, as is demonstrated by Chinese prosperity over the last couple of decades, it worked out. You know what I mean? You can have your criticisms, but it kind of worked out demonstrably.
And encouraging foreign investment. The new theoretical and practical foundations of reform and opening up allowed the Chinese economy to achieve swift growth, which accelerated rapidly after China's entrance into the World Trade Organization in 2001.
And also, it would not have worked if they had completely kept liberalizing the economy, for the record. It would not have worked without what Xi Jinping has done as well, which is why I think it's important. It's important to recognize Xi's initiative here as well.
Many criticize the party's embrace of pro-market reforms and integration into the capitalist world economy. But Deng Xiaoping and every paramount leader after him demonstrated that the process of moving towards the lofty ideal of communism unfolds at an incremental and gradual pace. Deng Xiaoping always understood that developing the forces of production would be a lengthy process and that China had a long march down the socialist road before approaching a new stage of socialist development. Reform and opening up catalyzed Chinese economic development, lifted hundreds of millions out of absolute poverty, and laid the groundwork for the development of what would become known as socialism with Chinese characteristics. Xi Jinping explains that this concept embraces a dialectical view of socialism that integrates the universal ideals of Marxism and socialism with China's unique historical and material conditions. Socialism with Chinese characteristics represents a theory, path, and system of how China will further advance down the socialist road through the implementation of theory into the practice of statecraft. The evolving nature of the theory is based on the necessity of informing practice based on changing conditions and the needs of the people as a whole. Xi Jinping describes it as a holistic theory that conceptualizes Chinese society in its totality. Every institution, policy, campaign, and long-term plan is informed by the lofty goal of achieving communism, correcting erroneous views and decisions, and unifying all mindsets, policies, and measures to carry China beyond the primary stage of socialism. Socialism with Chinese characteristics is built on the foundation of Marxism-Leninism and Mao Zedong thought, which offer basic scientific principles for understanding the world through a dialectical materialist worldview. Marxism-Leninism is seen as a universally applicable theory, while Mao Zedong thought represents this theory under specifically Chinese conditions. On top of this foundation is Deng Xiaoping theory, Jiang Zemin's concept of the three represents, and Hu Jintao's scientific outlook on development. Each of these contributions to socialism with Chinese characteristics is understood to be temporally determined or specific to unique circumstances at a given historical period of China's development. For example, in 2004, as China's growing market economy intensified social inequalities, Jiang Zemin found it necessary to reiterate and solidify the party's commitment to people-centered and socialist development by introducing the three represents into the party constitution, ensuring the equal representation of economic, cultural, and people-centered development in governmental affairs. Lastly, the most recent contribution to socialism with Chinese characteristics has come from Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping thought marks a significant turning point in Chinese development and the theory of socialism with Chinese characteristics. The term thought has not been used to describe the theory of any paramount leader since Mao, which signifies a deeper level of importance to the contribution. But furthermore, since achieving moderate prosperity in all respects, Xi Jinping emphasizes that China has entered a new stage of development and makes frequent reference to socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era. In 1997, Jiang Zemin introduced the concept of the two centenary goals: to achieve a moderately prosperous society in all respects by 2021, the centenary of the Communist Party of China, and to achieve a modern socialist country that is prosperous, strong, democratic, culturally advanced, harmonious, and beautiful by 2049, the centenary of the People's Republic of China. The two centenary goals were taken up and popularized by Xi Jinping, who elevated them into a central theoretical component of socialism with Chinese characteristics, and used them as a national call for the Chinese people to continue pushing towards national rejuvenation. Working towards moderate prosperity in all respects saw remarkable progress in poverty reduction. From the end of 2012 to the end of 2017, the rural poor population decreased by 68.53 million, or about 70%. On average, 13.7 million people were lifted out of poverty annually, which was more than double the annual rate of reduction during previous poverty reduction programs. By 2020, all people in these regions were guaranteed food, clothing, compulsory education, basic medical care, and safe housing. Poverty-stricken rural areas saw increased rates of growth, family disposable income, and basic public services. China's poverty alleviation achievements are the culmination of people-centered development and economic planning. Throughout the first several decades of China's reform and opening up, means of production were used to produce means of production in order to catch up with the West. However, with the achievement of moderate prosperity in all respects, China's high-tech sector is now quickly approaching and even surpassing the West, standing at the cutting edge of scientific and technological breakthroughs in the fields of AI, quantum information, mobile communication, blockchain, synthetic biology, gene editing, regenerative medicine, cosmology, robotics, and many others. Throughout the late 20th century, Chinese workers produced goods that were exported abroad rather than consumed at home. However, the economic success experienced throughout the 21st century has allowed for greater considerations to be made regarding people's well-being, the natural environment, and social justice. China's new economic strategy emphasizes high-quality development that is innovative, coordinated, green, open, and inclusive. As Xi Jinping says, we must put
I cannot take any of this seriously. You cannot protest in China. You will get arrested if they don't like what you have to say. Just one example of how dangerous the Chinese government is. Any claims of socialism seem like straight up propaganda. I'd rather live there than the U.S. though. Bro, given the current administration's initiatives in terms of removing due process and also destroying the First Amendment, we literally are getting all of the worst aspects that you claim China has and none of the high-speed rail. So yes, your final statement on the matter is what is perhaps most important.
Put the people's interests first. Under no circumstances can we ever alter our standpoint of breathing the same air as the people and sharing a common future with them. Nor can we forget our purpose, which is to serve the people wholeheartedly. Nor can we discard the view of historical materialism that the people are the real heroes. Serving the people wholeheartedly and always representing the fundamental interests of the greatest possible majority of the people are the important preconditions and foundation for the implementation and development of consultative democracy. According to Xi Jinping, from 2021 to 2035, China will build on the foundations created by its moderately prosperous society with 14 more years of hard work to ensure that socialist modernization is generally realized. The party's vision is that by the end of this stage, China's economic and technological strength will have increased significantly, the rights of the people will be adequately protected, social etiquette and civility will be enhanced, people will lead more comfortable lives, the size of the middle income group will have grown significantly, a modern social governance system will have taken shape, and society will be full of vitality, harmonious, and orderly. Xi Jinping emphasizes that this process represents the movement towards the higher stage of socialism. Achieving communism is the highest ideal of the communist.
I'm sorry. I do want to say, can you imagine Donald Trump writing 4 volumes on anything, really? Like actually him, even getting someone to dictate his thoughts about how we will move America into a transitional phase where America will become the manufacturing hub of the world, and how he's going to make capital owners collaborate with his agenda of prosperity. Like, motherfucker's barely literate. I still don't believe he knows how to read. That's just something. Yeah, art of the deal. I know. Our art of the deal, baby. That's his 4 volumes of Donald Trump thought, expanding on how to con better, which I guess is the capitalist version. It's a perfect representation of capitalism in and of itself, you know? A watered down version of how to be a better con man, reduced to something that was ghost written.
Damn, this guy's good.